All right. Welcome, Robbie. Can you hear us? Welcome, Robbie.
Welcome. Let me,
Welcome.
can you unmute Robbie?
Your microphone is muted. Yeah. It's probably on the screen there, on your screen. Just look for a mute, unmute toggle. There you go. There you go. There you go. Robbie, welcome. We're so excited to see you. And listen, we saw your video. We all saw it together here on this program, and we loved it. So anyway, I'm going to let Diana properly introduce you. I'm just so excited to welcome you. But Diana, please take it away. Diana.
Thank you, Jamin. Robbie, thank you so much first for accepting the invitation and taking the time to be with us here. I thought that you'll be like a great, teacher, because all the time the things that we talk about here, it's some of the things that you teach. So I'm very honored and happy that you are here. Thank you. You're still mute. I can still hear you.
Is there a way to turn my mother's speaker on so she can talk?
Sorry, that would have to be on her end, because there's nothing I can do to facilitate that.
What device is she operating through right now?
What device are you on, Mom?
Can you unplug your AirPods, Robbie? I don't know if it's the AirPods that are your phone.
Maybe if your mom. Anyway.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. What's
okay.
Okay, maybe it's the earphone. So well, thank you so much again. And I was gonna say, like, I bought, how we a lot of the things we talk in this group is that there's no coincidences, and I want to give a little background how I ran into Robbie. So I was on Amazon shopping for books, and I saw his book. I didn't know anything about Robbie or about the work that he teaches at this point. And I saw the book. It got my attention. It has, it has some one page to read, and I'm like, okay, I need to have this book right now. And I bought the book. I read the book, did the exercises. It was life altering, life changing. And about a year after, I'm in this Facebook group with some friends, and Robbie is in this group, and I'm like, oh my God, Robbie, I read your book, and I was just like,
Hi everyone.
Hi Lisa.
Welcome, Lisa. All right, sounds like you can hear us. Good, thank you. Carry on, Diana.
And I was just, amazed that I got to actually meet Robbie because of that book. And yeah, thank you, Robbie.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that I think it reaches the people that need to reach it. I don't really see myself as a teacher. I'm more a trans medium, and the divine, whatever you want to call it, teaches through me. But yeah, I think we're all just one. We're all just on the same level, learning different parts about ourselves, So, but I'm really glad that it's benefited you, that the books have benefited you. It's fantastic. It's always lovely to hear, when I first started doing this, it was just like the angels, like, should I promote this? What should I do? And it finds its audience. It finds the people that are ready for it. And you were obviously ready for it, So I think when it comes to the actual deep part of the oneness, it's like we talk about, we want to find a spiritual self and what we're all about, but the actual reality of recognizing that you're divine and that everybody's you and the eternal reality it's more shocking than people realize, So I think it has to be in divine timing. It has to be, when the synchronicities are right, you'll be led to the right meditation or prayer or connection or ceremony or whatever it is, and I'm so glad that the books have helped you, So it's been a bit of a process for me. And this year, it's like everybody's, it's like everybody's suddenly opened up, because it's, it's the dark night of the soul for the whole world, which from one perspective it's and from another perspective it's fantastic, It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think for the ones that know is fantastic. For the ones that don't know yet, it's might be a little bit scary. Yeah,
Very scary.
and it's I think we are in great times, you know, and just the history of history. So it is an amazing time. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Robbie. So I wanted you to share your story about how you came into this path, because it's like an amazing story. So Robbie didn't believe in anything, and then something happened to his tooth and something magical. Can you share that story with us? I love it.
I didn't not believe. I was brought up, my grandfather was a minister, and so I was brought up quite a religious family, you know, but it wasn't like I had any experiential knowledge of spirit, really, you know. It was more, you know, just ceremonial, and, you know, it's like what the doctrine and dogma and, you know, what was in the family, and you believe in this or you're going to hell and all of that kind of stuff, you know. But the time that I had the experiential understanding, I had a really bad toothache. I had a terrible toothache, and I was married at the time, and we went to a week's summer holiday, and I couldn't get an appointment with the dentist at all. Like an emergency appointment, couldn't get anything, and I was a misery guts. I was in such pain, it was terrible, you know. And it was a bus trip there for a week, and then a bus trip back. And the bus trip was like a 6-hour journey. So I bought some books for the trip. One of these books was called The Superhumans, and it had this story about this chap who was a psychic dentist. And he used to, in the Depression in the 30s, he used to, because nobody could afford a dentist, he used to slap people in the cheeks and go, "In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, be thou whole." And he would slap them in the cheeks. So I'm on this bus. I'm like, I've got this terrible toothache. And I was like, can't hurt it any more than it does already. You know, and I said, "In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, be thou whole." And I slapped my own cheeks. So after a week of all this pain, at the end of this 6-hour bus trip, we got back up to Paisley, and I said to my then wife, I don't have any pain in my tooth, you know. I said it's gone, and she could attest the previous week I'd just not joined in on anything. I was miserable. I was crabby, you know. And so she said, "Well, keep the appointment with the dentist that you've got on the Tuesday after this." This was the Saturday that we go back. "Keep the appointment with the dentist, because you might have got a bit of bread stuck in it or something, or a bit of whatever food, just, you know." And the dentist looked at my tooth, and he said, and this dentist had been the only dentist that I'd had for several years previously. So he had all my records. He knew what my teeth looked like. And he said, "It's been heavily filled." He said, "I don't know what it's been filled with, but it's a really good job." And I was like, huh? What? What? So for the next few years, I went through this kind of half incredulous state, half. The people that I spoke to were like, some people were like, "Yeah, okay then," and some people were like, "You know, no, that's true. That happens. That's healing. That's metaphysical spirituality. That's the actual, you know, happening that happened." And we went to my then wife's uncle was a minister in Canada, and I relayed this story to him, and he said to me, this was a faith builder. This was the divine showing you the power of something, but it's not for the story or for telling anyone or for proselytizing or for, you know, creating something. It's only for you. It's a faith builder for you. And since then, that basically started me in the path of spiritualism and, you know, meditation and prayer and healing and all the different stuff, you know, because it was practical. It was in my mouth. I couldn't deny it. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't waffy. It wasn't a whispered spirit or some, do you know what I mean? It wasn't, it was concrete as far as I was concerned, because I had gone through that period of pain, and when the pain was relieved, and when it was, if it hadn't been verified by a dentist, my dentist, do you know what I mean? I would have probably put it down to something, or you know, explained it away. But that's what started my journey, because from that point, you're like, well, you know, I think this has to be experiential. I think ascension is experiential. It has to be individual before it can be collective. It has to be an experience of your own understanding, not, like I say, proselytizing. I'm not here to start a religion. I'm not looking for people to follow me or for me. It's like, even when people say you're a teacher, I think that the divine teaches through everybody. And these kind of experiences are the kind of experience that changes somebody from maybe a waffy belief into a conviction. Like, I know that it's real, and I've had more powerful experiences since then. But that was the experience that kind of set me on this path, if you like, you know. So yeah.
That's amazing. So then that started you on this path, and then how did I don't have my book with me, but so your first book was the Clarion's Call, correct?
Well, I did one book previously, You Should Be, but it was more like I wasn't properly fasting or properly doing everything that I was meant to be doing. So in 2005, I had an experience when I first opened my Merkaba. I had the experience of I found a Merkaba meditation. I explained it in Twin Flames, Merkabahs and more. I had a kind of metaphysical week. It was like I was in a spooky horror film. My tradition is Christianity, so that's why I was brought up in Christianity. And I had this week where I first started using the Merkaba, and I found it. Like, I think it was a 17 breath step Merkaba meditation that I started using. And in this week that I started using this, I was having all these spooky experiences. I felt like I was getting followed. And this week, I was going deep into breath. I was going deep into meditation. I was surrendering completely to the flow of this meditation, this experience. And finally, at the end of this week, I went really, really deep into the breath, and I felt like I was getting the hang of it. And I felt the experience of the Merkaba, the experience of the actual metaphysical experience of having that around me. And when I did this, I had the archetype from Christianity is Lucifer, right? Lucifer, the devil, you know, the big boogeyman, or your dark side of your own psyche, however you want to quantify it yourself. But in order to spark open the Merkaba, it's like kind of part of the mechanics of the Merkaba. You have to face that darkness within you. And for me, I got to the point I could feel this energy. I could feel this getting ready. And then I heard this, the scariest thing I've ever heard in my life. It was Lucifer. I was like, but really, really intense, right? So obviously that's my own psyche from a child. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, you know, this was drummed into me that the devil or whatever. At this point, I had the choice between darkness or light, between fear or love. which is always the choice when you're opening up that part of the metaphysical part of yourself. So that archetype opened up within me, and that's scary. That's the scariest thing that I ever experienced. But instead of choosing fear, I chose love. The Merkaba sparked open, and I had the experience of oneness. I had that experience. I wasn't there anymore. There was no me. There was only me. There was no me, little self of Robbie. There was only me that is everybody. Do you know what I mean? That is everything. And that experience, it has to be experiential. You can't make people experience that, and they can only experience it when they're ready for it. And whatever your archetypes are, or whatever your childhood experience is, or whatever your personal tradition is, it will face you in the way that you're used to. If it's Native American, or if it's, you know, if it's Hindu, or if it's Buddhist, or whatever you were brought up with, or if you weren't brought up with a tradition, it will face you in your own way, to face you with your own psyche. But that's the mechanism, and you can't get that to that point until you surrender to it. Well, anyway, past that point, since that day, since that time, since that experience, I've not been the same. I've not been the same. I'm still me. I'm still Robbie. I'm still, you know, they say before enlightenment, carry water, chop wood. After enlightenment, carry water, chop wood. I'm still me. But I'm not, I don't have the same, it's like I bounce back from things much quicker. I feel like I can come into, even though I can get into the illusion, I come back much faster, or I can let it all go much more effectively. And I just think everybody should do it. Everybody should face that point within themselves, because once you face that point within yourself, you're facing death, really. You're facing the concept of death within you, and recognizing that there is no death. There is no death. Death doesn't exist. Our experience my experience as Robbie is fleeting. It will be fleeting. It's ephemeral. It won't last. But the experience of me will last forever, because I know that I'll just change form. I know that I'll just transform. I know that when all of this is done, I'll go back to that ascended state that we all come from, that we'll all go back to. So that it takes away the fear, and it helps you be in a place of more balance. It helps you be in a place of less trepidation about things, of less judgment of people's journeys, of, you know, there's the way that the world is just now. Obviously there's a lot of messed up things that are happening just now, but if you see that from the point of unraveling, it's a beautiful thing, you know, because the chrysalis is chaos. The chrysalis is chaos. So for us to judge people for them going through the chrysalis experience doesn't make any sense. When you come out that other side, it's just like, well, all we can do is give them love. All we can do is just experience our own open heart, and not be in a place where we allow ourselves to get stressed or in fear or in negativity, and just try to be balanced. And that's kind of what it's brought to me. You know, that's what it's given me as far as this experience is concerned. You know, I think I'm more open to life. I'm less fearful of making, you know, things happen, or closing myself down for fear, or, you know, putting myself in a shell, or trying to put others in a shell for, you know, for my own control systems, or our own psyche, or, you know, understand. I unravel myself more now, and I find myself when, like, oh, I'm doing a pattern that's my father's. Oh, I'm doing a pattern that's my mother's, that's my brother's, that's my friends, that's society's, that's, you know, that's programmed into me. Maybe I should stop doing that. or maybe I should continue doing that because that's working, or, you know, but being more open to unraveling it, and being less defensive about it. Do you know what I mean? About all of these systems. That's kind of what it's given to me, personally. And you can only really come from your own person. You can only really come from your own system, from your own experience, you know? And I think that's what it's brought me, because I come from more of a place of, I don't doubt other people's experience, but I also am open to explore what it means and why it's happening. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow, that was so beautiful. It was yeah, I'm speechless now, because your words brought something that really touched me right now, even though I heard what you said before from other people. Yes, having me here, and I know your energy has really like having me some realizations right now as you're speaking. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, it's so funny. Last time we spoke, I was inspired to do a fasting for starting on the Merkaba, and this time, coincidentally, I completely forgot we had this today, and like not like forgot, but yesterday I was on my own world, right? And I stopped at a juice store and bought myself a bunch of juices to start another juice fast this week. And then now I'm thinking, oh, I think that's why I got the juices yesterday, because we had this today. And I personally, I think I'm going again to the process, because I think last time it's been in little, like not little, but like in small parts, you know, like I haven't had the full experience yet, but I think I have like, okay, this is how it's gonna be. And then we wait a couple of months, okay, this is also what's gonna be. And then another, you know, another thing happens. And this time I haven't eat, like I was thinking this morning, oh my God, I haven't eat like in 2 or 3 days. You know, I'm not hungry at all. And then I got the juices yesterday, and I think I'm going through that process. And it's very interesting that you mentioned Lucifer earlier, because when I'm meditating, I feel like a presence that comes, and it's that like, and I think that's one of the things that helped me with the Clarions call, is that you mentioned that in the book, or that's mentioned in the book, right? And so when I feel that darkness or Lucifer, because it feels, you know, we put a name, it can be named many things, but you know, for more common knowledge, let's call it Lucifer. And I remember from the book, when you feel that, you choose love instead of fear, and that has made like a difference, and that has taken me like a level, you know, up, like move, just push a little bit forward. Still, like I said, I'm not completely there yet, but it has helped me to just move just a little bit closer to the full experience. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Just be kind to yourself. Recognize it's your own process. It's not a race. It's your experience, you know, and how you need to deal with whatever it is you need to deal with psychologically, emotionally, physically, you know, spiritually. It will come in its right timing. That you're making an effort, that you're looking into yourself. That's enough. Do you know what I mean? It's not a race. It unfolds as it's meant to unfold. Do you know what I mean? You won't go any faster than you can anyway. That's why when Metatron talks about the ring past naught, it's something that you can't fake it, because you're not trying to pass a test. You're not trying to. It's not an initiation into a religion. it's your higher self. You can't fool yourself. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so whatever process, whatever thing that you need to deal with from your childhood, from your programming, from whatever it is, from your past lives, from whatever it is, that will be individual to you. So nobody else can walk your path. Nobody. So when he talks about the ring past naught, that's yours, personally, perfectly yours. You know, so if you're meant to, maybe you're meant to have this experience with fasting, or maybe you're meant to have this experience with, you know, the process of opening up. And sometimes, because it can be really that point of when I know that it's an actual mechanism, you know, when it actually sparks open. Lately I've been talking about it also with the breath, because partly it's about you dealing with your filters, with what you need to deal with personally. But part of it's also the actual mechanism of the Merkaba. And I talk about it lately. It's like, I don't know if you ever drive a stick. You call it driving a stick in America, yeah? When you, yes. With the gears, yeah? That's most of the cars in the UK are stick, right? It's a rarity we have an automatic car. But if you understand what it's like, the bite point of the clutch, there's a point in the Merkaba that's kind of like that, and it's with your breath. It's a point within the breath, when you're holding the breath, that you have to surrender to that point that actually sparks open the Merkaba. But you have to be ready for it as well. Ready to, because it feels like you're exploding in love, but you're actually imploding in love. You're actually, you are love already. We are all one. There is no separate beings here. These are all manifestations of our one self. And the opening of the Merkaba is you coming to that recognition rather, and that point with the, like, because you're following the clarion call, that point where you're saying about Satan, Lucifer, that's a point for you to do that point of the breath, you know. And it's a mixture of you being in that held breath and surrendering to the love, and then it just feels like you can't explain it really. You have to experience it, you know. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you. I think for me, when I feel it close, and I love that you say, you know, it's not a race, and we are all, you know, it will happen on our own time, and even if we don't know it, as we are one, it's already happening for us, even when we don't see it or we cannot feel it in that, you know, to that magnitude. And I think I have, like, you know, this higher intelligence, my higher self, when it feels that I'm going too fast and I'm not ready, something happens in my normal physical life that will, like, slow down or just bring me a little bit back until, so I love seeing that, the process, how it's been unfolding. You know, it's been going on for a couple of years, and I'm feeling more excited about it, because I can feel it closer and closer and closer. So it's a really good feeling. And can you tell us, and now I have the books, I have this book, The Twin Flames, and then this is the book that brought me to Robbie. And can you tell us a little bit more about like what happened, like how you channel this book, Robbie, the clarion call?
It's funny you're saying about fasting, because fasting was a process for me as well. In 2005 was the first time that I channeled Metatron. I'd actually had a local medium had done a channeling for me and said that I would channel 2 books by Metatron around about 2002, 2003. And I'd only just started in Circle at that time. And when 2005 came, I channeled Metatron for the first time, and it was really overwhelming. It was really, really intense energy. And there's different levels of being able to embody when you're channeling. And Metatron explained to me that I was in no shape. I was in no shape to channel the books that he wanted me to channel. It's like, you've got some work to do. And so that started the process of me understanding what it was to fast. You know, I'd done some fasting before just out of curiosity, but I'd never really taken it seriously, you know. And I started, and I was battling my ego. I was battling the fear of what people were saying. And, well, you can't live without food. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're going to die. You're going to die. You know, what are you doing? You know? Yeah. and so anyway, I persevered because I kept channeling him, even though it wasn't clear. It was clear enough for me to understand the instructions that I was being given to make me clear, but it wasn't clear enough for the message that I was meant to do. So from 2005, over the 5-year period, I went from starting, and I ended up doing a 21-day fast, and then they kept bugging me and saying that I had to do a 90-day fast. And I'm like, 90 days? What? So finally I succumbed, and I got to the place where I was practiced enough, I believed enough in the process, of fasting, and I started on this 90-day fast, and I didn't actually even do 90 days. I did 79 days, but on day 20 of the fast, I started being given the books, and that's when the clarion call came down. And at that point as well, I mentioned this in Twin Flames Merkabahs and more as well, even though I had the full Merkaba opening experience of what they call samadhi, you know, the just being bliss, just being the oneness. I still, before I channeled this book, I still had some reservations because of my childhood, because of my upbringing. You know, when you have a minister grandfather who's fire and brimstone and you will go to hell and, you know, all of this stuff, you know, that ingrains in your mindset. So anyway, at that point, just before I channeled the clarion call, I got on my knees. And I got on my knees, I prayed to Jesus. First of all, I opened the book. I opened the Bible. And this mechanism, I opened the Bible, and the Bible said, do not trust the spirits, only trust that which comes through the Lord Jesus Christ. So that was my childhood programming, right? So I went through this. I got on my knees, I prayed to Jesus. And I had another epiphany. I had another opening. I had another spontaneous samadhi. And from that point, I started channeling the clarion call. And I recorded until it was done, until it was finished. And that book, there's two points. The one that's most popular is the one that you've got. And there's an edited version, because somebody said, well, this needs edited, it's terrible. But the most popular book is word for word exactly how it came out. It's a complete book. It's got 5 meditations in it, and it it's a lot of people say that it's life changing. I didn't write it. I recorded it. Recorded every single channeling up until day 79 of the fast, and that's the clarion call. And it was the most powerful time that I've ever had in my life, you know. And I was completely solitary. Nobody saw me for that time. One person came to my door. A friend came to my door after about a month, and I opened the door, and they said that I looked like I was glowing, like I was radioactive or something.
Wow.
And then that was the process of that. And then from then I channeled another 3 years later. I channeled the Healing Book, then the Galactic Council's Book 1 and 2. And the Healing Book was a 40-day fast. The Galactic Council's Book 1 and 2 were both 40-day fasts as well. So, it's been part of the process of getting me into the place where I let go of the filter system, I let go of the programming and what comes through. That I think that's why it's been so powerful for people, to be honest, because of that preparation. So I think the fasting definitely gets you into a state of, clearance. So you're not trying to put your opinion on anything. Do you know what I mean? You're just in a flow state. And I'm not saying that you can't do anything without like you have to fast or you do, but it's definitely part of the process. For me, it's helped me get into that place where I know more of my own divine self without question, without judgment, without anything getting in the way. All of these mechanisms that we use usually psychologically to hold ourselves back or push ourselves down or, negate our own divinity. And that got me into that place. And the rest is basically history, it's like from that point, people have just sort of found the material when they were ready to find the material, And when people recognize, I think that's part of what Metatron says, this is ascension. This is ascension time. It's a time where we are ready within our consciousness to find that mechanism within us and to open up our pineal gland to allow what the Galactic Council calls the divine nectar to flow. So it's like we release the DMT, we release the gateway chemistry that we have within our physical energy to connect multidimensionally to the different things that are different dimensions that have always been there, but now it's like there's a more widespread understanding of how to access that reality. You know what I mean? And then that just makes your life better. It's not just a waffy woo-woo thing. It's something that impacts your health, it impacts your mindset, it impacts your mood, it impacts your sleep, it impacts your physicality. I'm more likely now to exercise and do yoga or go for a walk or get my limbs going now than I ever was before. Do you know what I mean? It's and I think before I put something in my mouth. Now, don't get me wrong, I can still, I still love my food, I still love, whatever, but I'm more conscious of these things. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like it gets you into a place where you're just a little bit more mindful about what you're doing as well. It has a practical application. It's not just woo-woo. It's not just, waffy nonsense. I think if everybody did this, and if we taught this to children, it was something that children were taught as a basic, when in what you call kindergarten, we call it nursery. When they're first opening up, if that could be a standard for the whole of humanity, we would ascend within a generation. Like everything would just flower. And I think it is. I think that's what this time is about, to be honest. I think people are starting to go, wait a minute, there's something in this,
Yeah, and one thing I do notice is that a lot of the kids that I don't know if every generation that it's born comes with a little bit more awareness, because like I see a lot of kids right now, and that doesn't matter where I am, I talk to a kid, and this kid has like all this knowledge and all these things that, I didn't grow up with, or maybe I did, but, I don't remember because, again, condition and all that. But I do see that whatever is that we're doing, it's working. And I do see it on the new kids that are born, the new generations, that they do come with like slightly more awakened, if not, very awakened. And I also want to say that the fasting process, yeah, it's not for everyone. You don't have to do it. I think that's kind of an agreement that we did, for maybe for someone, it's just a spontaneous experience. But I think for me, I'm part of that group of people that it's on the fasting group, and every time I do a fasting, I can literally,
I think it's definitely something that everybody should try at least. I think not just for. I don't push these things on people. You have to open up to this yourself. It has to be your own choice. But I would say it's really healthy. It's really, really good for you. And all these things that people take a lot of this, like chronic diseases or chronic conditions or whatever. And from just knowing people that have gone through the process of fasting or juice fasting or intermittent fasting or just understanding about it, it's really, really good for you. And not even from the metaphysical perspective, but from the physical perspective, from the health perspective, it's really, really good for you. And it gets you into a place where you it stimulates autophagy. It's a thing that regenerates you. It brings you into a place of regeneration. And because you're not digesting so much as well, it frees up a lot of the energy in your body so that you can just heal. And so that you can just, to me, when I'm fasting properly, when I've committed to it, I sleep like a baby. The astral states that you can connect with when you're fasting. I think what it does is, without even going into opening your Merkaba and stimulating your pineal gland and opening the DMT, we all need DMT to dream. So we all have that when we're dreaming, when we're in the dream state. But when you're fasting, I think it stimulates that more naturally, more quickly, and the dream state just becomes so intense and it's beautiful, So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the health part. Like the last fast I did, I do intermittent fasting, but like the last juice fast I did, which was I did for, I think it was somewhere between 21 to 30 days. And I had the most energy that I ever had. Like I feel like 15 years old, I feel like super young. Yeah. My body was super light. It was so amazing. Yeah.
People don't understand the energy you get from it, and it's just crazy. And also I come from a family of big people, it was always, that's what I put in the book as well, it's like, it was always eat your breakfast, eat your lunch, eat your dinner, have snacks in between. Here, feed. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? That was like my mum's answer to everything, It's like, are you hungry? Can I make you something? And it was her way of, that's how she loved us, she fed us, I love you, I feed you. What? Do you want something to eat? Are you hungry? But that creates sometimes really big people, And we, coming from a family with that pattern of being big, it's something that I broke away from, that you have to face those things as well, because from that perspective, that's love as well. It's a lovely thing that we do that. We try to make sure that we're okay by feeding us. That's part of, but it's one of the biggest patterns as well. When you go deeper into the Galactic Council stuff, they say that when we take this evolutionary leap and fully open our pineal gland, and the divine nectar flows, and we open up our brain, and we open up our kundalini, and we open up from the Kachari mudra, or from however it is that you do it, when that clicks into place, they say that you can sustain yourself purely from that light, purely from that divine nectar. So you don't actually need food. There's people that do that already. And when I channeled the Galactic Council books, that's a leap in perception as well. That's a difficult one because I love my food.
Yeah.
You know, I like eating. I love eating. You know, I love food. So it's not just it's quite a big one to go from that idea that it's a possible thing. It's part of our spiritual evolution. It's part of our physical evolution to actually think, you know, can I be in that position and then never eat again, you know? And from the novel perspective, it sounds, oh yeah, really good. From some perspective, it sounds a bit science fiction-y, you know? It sounds a little bit like, oh, really? You know? But from the experiences that you have when you're in that state and when you're opening the DMT and when you're in these places, like, people take ayahuasca and like I know a few people that have retreats in Peru that do, you know, the ayahuasca ceremonies and they do all of that stuff. Well, we can do that naturally, you know, and it gets to the stage where it's not about fasting, it's not about purifying, it's not about, you know, getting yourself into a certain state. It's about stimulating something that is the next stage in our evolution. And then from that perspective, you're kind of like, whoa.
Yes, you know, I did had like, well, I had my experience with ayahuasca, and the same the a big part for that experience was the diet. You know, you have to do a diet for 30 to 90 days before you go in that space. And for me, the reason I did that, or I chose to do that, was because I was just not waking up. Like, I was just not waking up. I was, and like, I was pushed so hard. So where ayahuasca came into my life, but that, what it showed me, it was just the potential, you know, and now learning that we can do it even without using, you know, it's ayahuasca, it's a tool. It's what I was told is that it's a technology that was left here by our star family, and but it was just to show me the potential, you know, and everything. Like, from that, a lot of things started happening, and just show me like what we are capable of, even in this human form, you know, that we haven't yet tapped into, but I think we're getting closer and closer. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all there. It's what my guides say is an inevitability. It's not that we're discovering something, it's that we're unfolding what we're all going to grow into, you know. And it's all because it's all like the Buddha, you know, Jesus, Krishna, these people who have been fully opened in that state were just showing us that that's the possibility, that's what we're capable of. You know, these things I do, you too can do, like Jesus said. That's just who we are and who everybody is. And this year, 2020, the coronavirus, the mass corruption, the crazy dark stuff coming out, all of the things that are being brought to light, it's part of what they've been talking about for ages, of the collective, the critical mass of our consciousness that can't go back. The light is here. And it's gotten to this point because we see it as the dark, as the Illuminati, as these people that are doing all this difficult stuff. But it's our consciousness. And, you know, it's like Ho'oponopono, right? Ho'oponopono accepts full responsibility for the whole. It says, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You know, I am Bill Gates. You know, I am Fauci. I am communism. I am capitalism. You know, I am Jesus. I am Buddha. I am Krishna. I am Mao. I am Hitler. You know, I am all these things. That's part of what my mechanism has been, but that's part of the chrysalis. And the next stage of that is us growing out of that. And that's what 2020 is all about. It's us taking full responsibility for that part of our mechanism that wants to hold us back, that wants to hold us down, and then allowing the flower to flower. Allowing us to say, well, I don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Don't need those things anymore. We just need love.
Yeah, and someone was saying, you know, that 2020 it was like hindsight or something like that, and I think it is true, you know, that we are really in a position right now where we cannot look the other way. You know, everything it's up in the open for us to realize that, you know, we are the ones that have the power to change it, and that everything starts within ourselves. And I think, you know, we as I had this before, right? That, oh, these people are not awake, or these people are too asleep. But that's our job, you know, for the ones that are a little bit have more awareness or are awakened, to just help our brothers and sisters to plant the seeds and help them realize, you know, why we are here and what is that we are doing. Exactly.
But like you say, we cannot turn a blind eye anymore. It's good to, it's not just important, it is imperative to love all. Love all, serve all, judge none, but discern. You know, when you see a child, you know, holding something over a fire and he's going to burn himself and burn the house down, you don't just say, oh, look at him burning the house down. There he's burning the house down. Just send him love and everything will be fine. Well, you don't. You say, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. That's going to burn the house down for everybody. We're not going to let that happen. And that's what these people are doing that are, I think the hard pill to swallow is what's happening to the children. The hardest pill to swallow is what is happening systemically to the children. And we can't turn a blind eye to that anymore. So, you know, the way that things are being uncovered and the way that things are being brought into the light, that is one of the most important things that we need to shine the light on just now. And we can't let it go. We can't let it go. Because once that is dealt with, that's the child burning the house down just now. That's the child holding the torch to the house that we're all in. And that has to be taken away, you know? So that process is happening just now. But there's a lot that's happening. And we need to do it with love. We need to do it with awareness. We need to do it with discernment. But we need to keep looking at it. We need to keep digging. We need to keep pulling the veil back. We need to keep uncovering everything that's happening. And we can't stop. It's not stopping, you know. It's not stopping. It's here. You know, our Christed self is opening up. And there's what Metatron says, the resistance of humanity is like a dried twig on the rail where a freight train's a freight train is humanity's opening consciousness, and the dried twig of Illuminati or the deep state or whatever you want to call it, you know, like that part of our consciousness that is up to shenanigans is getting rooted out now. You know, it can't continue. So we just need to keep shining the light, keep shining the love. This is part of like my group in New York City, and like lots of different people around the world are doing the chi balls. You know, the chi balls in the healing book, sending off love to everybody, clapping these chi balls. opening your solar plexus, your sacral chakra, and it's sparking all this love away. That's the big thing that Metatron has me involved in now, and it's like it can't stop. It won't stop. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I agree. Like we are in a point where there's just not going back. There's just no going back. We're just accelerating, and we're getting closer and closer for sure. And Bridget, do you have a question for Robbie?
Oh, I just wanted to add to this beautiful sharing. I am so moved. I'm so deeply moved, and I had to come on the link. I listened to an inner tug. I was in all these other things earlier, and then suddenly it came strongly through to come on this right now. And when I did, and I heard about the divine nectar, which I experienced in a meditation during the harmonic convergence, and then I've been talking about Ho'oponopono with all these people the last 2 days. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I put a link to my musical interpretation of Ho'oponopono to share from my heart to yours. And as a child from a dysfunctional family, it was very hard at first with the "I'm sorry, please forgive me." And when someone shared with me an expanded version, I began to be able to use it, and it's been profoundly healing. I'm sorry for being unconscious. Please forgive me for not being aware of the reality I was creating. Thank you for releasing it. I love you. And I would say that to parts of myself, my inner child, and was forgiving all levels and layers of my participation. And then I was practicing this with whoever came to mind and in the larger, picture of the world. And I just needed to share that. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And it's a brilliant tool. It's a really brilliant tool, so that's great. That's great that you were freed. I think that's the thing. It's overcoming that part of your conditioning, whatever that is, that holds back things. And when there is dysfunction, or where there is, all of these different things that put you on the defensive, because it's like, well, I've not been able to do anything about that before. So psychologically, you're kind of, should I even bother? And then it frees you. And then once it frees you, you surrender. And when you surrender, you connect. And when you connect, well, you're empowered. Fully empowered,
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Bridget. That was so beautiful. And yeah, there's like the more and more, the more synchronicities, the more connections. And you literally jumped into the call when Robbie was talking about Ho'oponopono, and that that's you can just made that up. And I want to bring Christopher and the speaker, if you are open, Christopher, to share your experience that you had with Robbie. Would you be open to share? Okay. Yeah, Christopher has a really beautiful or amazing thing that happened to you. And then I just saw he said that exactly today, a year ago, he this month that this synchronicity took place a year ago to the day today. So he had a synchronicity when he come into your work, and today is like the anniversary of that. So that's
beautiful.
Yes. So okay, so just let us know when you're ready.
It's amazing how synchronicities are, you paying attention to the synchronicities make more synchronicities happen. When you're consciously paying attention to when things happen and who speaks to you or what gets, drawn to your attention or whatever it is,
So what are synchronicities to you, Robbie? How do you see synchronicities?
Well, like divine coincidences, like everything. When you recognize everything happens for a reason, but synchronicities are the things that are meaningful, that mean something to you on your journey, that point you in the direction that you need to be. When it's either a synchronicity that somebody pops up with the same phrase that somebody else has said, and you connect the dots, and then it moves you into coming on a call, or being invited somewhere, or thinking about somebody, or having an epiphany to write something down, or something leads you to something in a book, or a card, or remembering something, or remembering someone, remembering something that would never have happened had it not been for those synchronicities. So I look at it like meaningful coincidences. Like nothing's really a coincidence, but the synchronicity part is you using your discernment as well, So it's recognizing that, well, what's that being sent to me? Is that being sent to me to teach me a lesson, or is it being sent to me to guide me to the better part of the next stage of my journey? So that's where the discernment comes in as far as synchronicity is concerned. Am I repeating a cycle that I think's a synchronicity? But it's actually an old pattern that maybe I'd be better off giving up. Or is it something that's leading me to recognize that I need that this path is the path for me, and it's very exciting. And I think excitement is the key, really. Metatron talks about that as well. The excitement part, when you have butterflies. When you get a rush about something, or when you get a rush about meeting someone, or connecting with someone, or they open your heart, or you're excited about the conversation, and it leads you into something else. To me, that's synchronicities. And following the excitement part of it, moment to moment, that leads you onto the higher timeline, because there's always, the Galactic Council talks about the flow of your awakening, your enlightenment. It's always ebbing and flowing. It's like the ocean. It ebbs and it flows, and the tide goes out and the tide comes in, and you swim, and you're in on that path, and you're recognizing when it's time to put the boat out is recognizing what the synchronicity is. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't sail when the tide's out. The synchronicity is when the tide comes in, it lifts your boat, and you go and you sail, And so it's about recognizing that, understanding that it's, what's the timing? What's holding me back? What's the synchronicity that's saying stop, breathe, think, prepare? Or what's the synchronicity that's saying go for it, jump, dive? You know what I mean? And having that feeling of synchronicity, or that feeling of excitement, or that feeling of this is the time, it's now. And it's always now for something. It's just recognizing what the time is now for. Is it time for holding back, or is it time for running forward?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Wow, thank you. So Christopher, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for sure. Robbie, I got to say, man, it's a huge honor to be able to see you and talk to you in person. I know I've been trying to send you comments and stuff on Facebook, but I feel like
to connect with you. So what you're telling me is you don't look like Bernie Sanders.
No, that's right. Yeah, it's a little confusing. I'm a little younger than he is.
Just your Facebook profile. That's just a wee joke that I had, of who I thought you were when I first said hello to you.
Yeah, that's right. I've confused a lot of people with that. I got to tell you, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people here are familiar with synchronicity, but the one that surrounds you in my life is actually the most profound that's ever happened. It actually was like several layers deep.
You're breaking up. I actually can't hear you.
Yeah, Christopher, you kind of froze up there, buddy. You may want to maybe switch to your
several layers.
You may want to switch to your other device, Christopher, or maybe turn off your video.
deep.
Oh, God bless you. I don't think he realizes that he's not.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. We'll here. I'll send him I'll send him a chat. I'm gonna voice dictate it here. It'll be faster. Hey, Christopher, comma. Your bandwidth suddenly got super low, comma, and we cannot hear a single word that you are saying, period. All right, done. Thanks.
Oh, God bless him.
Oh, yeah, he'll be back. Listen, he spends literally most of his life on this channel, and we're in the process of going 24/7 so that humanity, everyone, anywhere in the world, always has a place to come and hang with wonderful, beautiful people like Robbie MacKenzie.
Ah, and yourself. Is it
Thank
Jamin? How do I pronounce your name?
It's Jamin. It's an old Scottish name. It's an old Scottish name. Don't hate me for that. Just kidding. Anyway, and yeah, Jamin, at your service. And I'm one of the co-creators of this, which we call The Conversation, right?
Wonderful.
And it's really a network of conversations, and the vision is humanity playing together in a network of conversations to, as I think it was David who said earlier today, I don't think he's on here at the moment, how do we make the gear shift from all this wonderful envisioning and spiritual stuff, and whether it's ayahuasca or fasting, but stuff that we're having individual experiences that may be utterly profound. How do we make a couple of gear shifts? Number one, to the collective and bring it into conversation like we're doing right here, right now. What a beautiful example of it. You're sharing about personal experiences. You're inviting us to, share in those. You're inviting us to, you're inspiring us to have our own experiences, whether fasting or meditating or prayer or whatever, right? And so this is a perfect example of that. Now imagine a network of literally hundreds of thousands of conversations like this, but spanning all topics that you can imagine, from veganism to solar radiation management, to permaculture, to no-till agriculture, to radical new forms of direct democracy, to a new story for humanity. Who are we? Why are we here? How did we get here? Where are we going? And what do we need to do next? So all this coming together in conversation, that's kind of maybe the first major gear shift. But then from there, what do we actually do out in the physical world, right? So the current top two programs that we're spending a lot of our time talking about these days here are, number one, feeding everyone, right? Looks like Christopher might be back. Christopher, you were out for a while. So I'll pass it to you in a second. But feeding everyone, and we've come up with a hyper efficient mechanism for doing that based on stew, based on a universal stew that we produce literally by the megatons, right? Through large commercial kitchens throughout the world. And then we distribute in bulk by truck, no packaging whatsoever of any kind, not single use, not multi-use, simply no packaging. So it comes out in this giant 5-ton, 10-ton giant sausage truck of cold stew that then gets extruded. We get to a neighborhood, bring your own pot, we extrude. It's food on tap. And since we're going to be buying our inputs by the 40-ton truckload, costs plummet. And we're just making one stew, universal stew, with all your nutrients. There's nothing else you need to eat, right? Anyway, so feed everyone. And the other is to cool the planet. You hear about all the melting of the ice and the permafrost and the methane. And it goes on and on. Australian wildfires, there's no end to it. It's all heating. It's the heat, stupid. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to humanity. It's the heat, stupid. And it turns out there's only one way to cool the planet in time. And that is solar radiation management. So we talk, or SRM. So we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about food. We talk a lot about SRM. And then we talk about building this foundation, this platform, this network of networks, right? This first gear shifting to bring humanity together in conversation, as we're doing right here. We talk a lot about that too. So there's really three big things we talk about. N squared, the network of networks, food, and cooling the planet. Anyway, back to Christopher, back to you, Robbie. And thanks for listening and for being here. Oh my goodness, so wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, lovely.
So awesome. I don't know if you guys, can you hear me now or?
Yeah. Sorry about that. You just cut off just as you started speaking.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's my Wi-Fi here. Sometimes it's a little spotty, but yeah, I'm glad I'm back here. I'm not really sure where I left off, but I was trying to say that I had the synchronicity that was involved with you, Robbie, changed my life, man, on its own. And then on top of that, just today, I didn't realize, I woke up, I'm like, awesome, Robbie's going to be on the channel today. I was trying to get you here to talk, just to talk with people, you know, because I recognize that you're part of this community in heart already. And I was like, man, I got to get Robbie here, you know, just to enlighten us about this stuff. Then I found out just 2 days ago that you happen to be already set up with an interview. So, you know, I woke up this morning thinking, this is great, I'm going to talk to Robbie. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, it's been a year ago to the exact date that this multi-layered synchronicity that changed my life, caused me to completely take a completely different route, happen. So, you know, I think I need to talk to you personally about the layers of it. I find when somebody describes their synchronicities, a lot of the time it's sort of difficult to get a handle to the significance of it. But for me, it was, you know, a numerological thing, something I didn't put much stock into. I found your book on through a Facebook post you made online, and you know, it was talking about numbers, and I was seeing numbers which I'd never seen before. I'd never really paid attention. Thought it was kind of a goofy thing, and then I kept getting throttled with these numbers, these sequences, which if you read what I wrote down, it would just be it would be insane. At any rate, yeah. So you changed my life, man, and it just keeps unfolding.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. You just keep going with it. Just keep going with it. An honor to be able to, you know, have served you, you know, but it's just the aspect of you that needed to have that experience as a catalyst. That's all it is. It's your experience, you know. It's like, that's another thing. It's wonderful to honor the people that are on your journey, or that have helped you, or that have been meaningfully significant on your path. But it's your trip. This is your trip, you know. So it's like, you know, just you living it wholly, completely yourself, with the synchronicities, with the connections, with the way that you go next with your twin flame, with your, you know, your community, with your the way that it all opens up. That's what you're here for. You know, so it's my honor to help you, to serve you, to have been of service to you.
I think I need to talk to you a little more, Robbie, because I got to say, you know, the twin flame journey has been a rough one, man. When you said that, you know, it's not for the weak of heart, I was like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about. Well, I know what you're talking about now, man. And it's been a rough 11 months. So,
it's a surrender process. It's a process of surrender, really, to your. I think it's very much misunderstood, because it's one of these terms that it's like, oh, it's a romantic thing, you know. It's like it's a soulmate. Oh, I met my soulmate, you know. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's a tool for your mastery, is if you understand it completely. And if you're not prepared to face yourself, it's a nightmare. It can be an absolute nightmare, because it pulls no punches. So, you know, the more that you look at yourself and look at what your you know, your good habits, your bad habits, your good thoughts, your bad thoughts, what works for you, what's not aligned with your higher self, you know, when you're completely honest, it can be a real blessing, a beautiful thing, a passionate thing, an amazing thing, you know. But if you're in denial of all of that, well, you know, here's an experience for you. And that's a great thing. When you're in surrender, and you are in surrender, because of the way that you're speaking, because of your humility, because of you recognizing. That's another thing. It's like when you open up, also recognizing that these things are processes. And like even opening the Merkaba, opening your chakras. You know, people talk about having a Kundalini rising and then, you know, being hospitalized because they can't handle the energy that flows through them, because they've not dealt with their filters. They've not taken it seriously. They've not recognized that this is intense divine energy flowing through you, intense healing energy flowing through you. And if you're in denial, or if you're blocking it, or if you're half excuse my French, if you're half-arsing it, if you're not honoring the process, it can be really, really difficult and really, really intense, and it can get you in a headspace that you don't want to be in. But if you're surrendering to it, if you're in the flow, if you're self-forgiving, if you're allowing the divine to take the reins, there's nothing like it. There's no drug, there's no drink, there's nothing like it. And it's ultimately the twin flame relationship isn't about a relationship with another person. It's about your relationship with the divine. And when you get that, when you recognize that, when it's not about a kooky romantic relationship, the romance that's a great thing with it. That's a wonderful part of it, but it's not about that. It's about ascension. It's about, this is happening just now so that you can beam divine love. And when you really, really beam divine love, you open up all of the faculties within you and everybody else in your sphere, so that you have these amazing ideas about feeding the planet and about how we deal with the ecosystem and how we, come together as a community, and how we take down the corruption, how we take down the darkness, how we align to the next stage of humanity's ascension. That can only happen when we surrender, and that's part of the twin flame journey, And then you come into that humble space, and that's why I'm saying I'm not a teacher, I can't do anything. I can only surrender. And then if the divine takes me and speaks through me, then that's all that we can all do. Do you know what I mean? And this process with you and those synchronicities to bring you that book and the experience that you've had since then, and all of the profound energies, heart-opening energies since then, have been because of that surrender. It's not just about your twin flame. Your twin flame is part of it, but the surrender is the most important thing. Do you know what I mean? The alignment, the ho'oponopono of it. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I can't do any of this. You're
doing a lot of that, man.
You have to flow through me. If you flow through me, I know that it's going to be okay. Do you know what I mean? And that's all that we can. That's all that any of us can do. And that at that point, that's us coming together as one. Because that's the only place. That's the only space that we can actually be humble. That's the only space that we can actually surrender to the flow of it. Yeah.
It's a little more difficult in my situation because we were both with other partners at the time, and we weren't really on a spiritual path with those partners. So that's an added layer of drama and interest that I don't need to get into here right now. But as you can imagine, that would make the whole process a few steps extra.
There's a lot that are going through that as well. I think when you accept everything perfectly the way that it is, it's Eckhart Tolle says this: you either accept things or there's no point in fighting against anything, because this is the way that the divine has set it up. So you can look at it like, oh, she's in a relationship, I'm in a relationship, this has happened and we've got all these obstacles. Or you can look at it like, how wonderful, God set up this great adventure that I can open my heart to, that I can surrender to, and that I can allow what the divine will bring me. Do you know what I mean? Because our ego wants to say, this is difficult. The divine wants to say, this is an adventure.
An adventure, right? Yeah.
If we flip it, if we flip the energy, and it doesn't matter the circumstance, because humanity as a whole right now is being faced with the most difficult time that we've ever experienced as a collective, So we either look at it like, this is an adventure, let's sort this out, let's follow our passion, let's love every single part of this that will lead us on to the next stage of this adventure for ourselves, for each other, for the whole world, that has a knock-on effect on anything. Or we look at it like, well, this is difficult, this is hard, this is going to hold us back. This is, you know what I mean? It's like if we looked at it from that perspective, the world is on our shoulders. If we look at it from that perspective of this is the inspiration from the divine, we're on top of the world. We're saying, well, I'm alive, my heart's beating. I'm here to solve the food process, the food problem. I'm here to solve the spiritual problem. I'm here to solve the relationship problem. I'm here to say, I love you, I love you, I love you. It doesn't matter. If you're in that circumstance, I'll support you. I'll support myself. I'll support everybody that comes into this sphere and help them move forward, because I'm helping myself move forward. And at that point, you start dancing. You think, well, what do I need to learn from this? Why am I in this situation? What has brought me into this place, and who can I love to expand out of this? Do you know what I mean? That's the point that opens your heart. That's the point that actually you get motivated. You either sit down and it's like, this is difficult, or, oh, this is difficult. Let's sort this out. Let's have an adventure. You know, let's open our hearts. What can I do right now to help lift me, to help lift my twin flame, to help lift my neighbor, to help lift everybody, you know? It's like when we come from that perspective, it never stops. It just keeps flowing. It keeps expanding. It keeps exploding, you know?
Robbie, I needed to talk to you a lot earlier, man. I think that would have been super helpful. I really liked how you said, you know, who can I love to expand the experience right now? That's, I think I've had a lot of growth in this whole thing, and I haven't talked to this person properly in about 2 months. Things got that bad, and you were in the corner of my screen on the Zoom. I've spent about 3 or 4 days writing this huge letter, and I sent it off to her saying, she's read your book, and I sent it off to her saying that, oh, by the way, a year ago to the date that we came to this conclusion, Robbie's on my screen right now talking to people who are part of a community that I want you to be part of, because her and I envisioned being part of something like this before, you know, a year before it even existed. So that's another synchronicity.
Well, you've created this. You've created this. You know, that's part of your creation. But you need to love yourself. You need to love yourself more than anybody else. That sounds selfish, but it's only from an overflowing cup that you can help anybody else. So it has to be about your relationship with the divine. It has to be about you loving yourself, because you are an expression of the divine. And if you don't accept that fundamental part first, if it has to be in connection with your own divine, your twin flame is beautiful. I have no doubt, right? Everybody that you meet is beautiful in their own way and will be part of your journey. I have no doubt, right? But if you're not loving yourself first, you can't overflow to your twin flame. You can't overflow to anyone, because then anything else from that is virtue signaling. Anything else from that is saying, look, I'm a spiritual person, I'm helping everybody, look at how great I am. It's only an ego thing. It has to be, what do I do? How do I do this? Show me how to love. Show me how to love myself first. And from that place, everything overflows. Everything comes from it. The synchronicities for your twin flame will come. The synchronicities for your relationship will come. The synchronicities for the circumstances will come. There's nothing difficult. There's an adventure unfolding. And that's about perception. If you're coming from that perception of it's difficult, it's dangerous, it's hard, it's woe is me, it's only going to put the brakes on. If you come from the place of I'm love, I am the divine energy. The divine energy is flowing through me, and from that overflowing, all hearts open. That's what it always comes back to me. It always comes back to the point where the saying of Jesus, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you, which means get in alignment. Get in alignment. Get in alignment. Alignment brought you to your twin flame. Alignment brought you to this group. Alignment brought you to the transformation that happened so that you could connect a year ago. That was alignment. So the more that you align, the more these synchronicities happen. And the more that these synchronicities happen, the more you can follow them. And the more you follow them, the more fun you have. And the less inhibited you are, or the less that you've got that feeling like, this is difficult, I'm being held back. Why is this so hard? It's a place of flow. It's a state of, well, that's going to happen. That looks like fun. You know, and if you follow that, if you follow what the divine dictates of your higher self, it's inevitable that your twin flame will be on your path. And whether you're together or whether you're not together, that's the difficulty as well. When you see it as, I'm only going to be happy when I'm with my twin flame. If you see it from that perspective, you're going to be in pain. If you see it from the perspective of how wonderful that the divine has brought me this experience, that this person is part of my life. If you bring it from the perspective of what a divine adventure and how amazing it's going to be if we end up together, that'd be wonderful, you know? But if you don't hold on to that, if you're in detachment from that, everything will flow from it and it'll be an adventure. And then you'll be honoring yourself in this moment. Honoring yourself in this moment is honoring the divine in every moment. Honoring yourself right now is actually bringing your twin flame closer to you. And believe me, you connecting with your twin flame and you being with your twin flame, that's not the end of the journey.
I hope not.
That just brings you closer into the points of mastery when you have to look at yourself a little bit more closely as well. It's always unfolding. There's always something to do, you know? And while that heart's beating, while you're in that place of aligning, then you'll be led to the right people, you'll be led to the right philosophy or the right circumstance to bring you into the place, well, why are we together? Why is this sparking so much love in my heart? Why do I have so much passion for this person? You know, why does it feel like I could move heaven and earth to be with this person? And I tell you, according to my guides, the reason for that is because this is ascension time. You're here to be the best you that you can be and to overflow in love so clearly, so immensely, so completely that the whole world is affected, you know?
That's what I felt as the start of this. You know what, Robbie, I don't want to take up everybody. There's other people here that have got questions for you. I really appreciate you talking to me, man, and I would love to talk to you personally now that I've connected to you in person here in front of everybody. But just real quick, I wanted to say that in this whole journey, I got to speak directly like this to Neil Donald Walsh about this situation. So there's just been all these weird connections. I met this person at a festival that a year ago to the date corresponded with the harmonic convergence, which was the start of this group. And this person's very strong with an ET connection too. There's all these crazy connections, and I can't really get into them with the people here because you know, they're not relevant to the folks directly here necessarily. But it's just been nuts, man. And I'm totally resonating with everything you were saying. What you've told me up until this point, even before we talked today about detachment, has been really helpful, man. And I'm definitely on the pathway you're talking about. Not thinking about this, you know, I have to be with this person right now or something. It's about loving at the global level for sure. And this
exactly. And that you're recognizing that you're here for a reason as well. You know, right. Recognizing that, because I think most of the people that I'm connecting with, like the whole world, we're all here to ascend. Everybody is here for this experience right now, but not everybody is experiencing in this way. My guides talk about the 144,000, you know, and it's like people that are ready to hear this, people that are ready to act upon the mechanisms that will bring them into the deeper heart opening, or the deeper understanding of what it is to have an open Merkaba, or about disclosure, or about the galactic brothers and sisters, or about that being an actual reality, not just being an interdimensional experience. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot that's here. The people that you're connecting with, most especially, you know, will be people who you're here to open their hearts and they're here to open your hearts, you know. So it's more about your soul family opening up as well, you know. So just be aware of the synchronicities, and that's great. I've read the Conversations with God books. He's brilliant. That's great. What a great story as well. You know, it's the automatic writing. How wonderful. You know.
What's crazy is the huge big synchronicity that blew everything up. It's like a Russian doll. Was I saw you commenting in a feed asking Neil Donald Walsh to help you, or what you think of your recently published book back in 2018. But that's another story.
Yeah, I think I did. I seem to remember there was some exchange when he was on his page that brought me to him. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that speaking to
2018.
him.
I have to show you this at some point, but I can't do that here. I think Jamin's got his hand up. He wants to ask questions. I would talk to you all day, man, but I don't want to monopolize everybody else's. So it's an honor to talk to you, man.
And you.
Hey, Christopher, I certainly appreciate the respect, but please go with it. And because here's the thing, look, I'm in no hurry for this conversation to end. In fact, you know, one of the you know, things that we do here is we go long form, right? This isn't Fox News where someone's going to tell you to shut up every 30 seconds. Quite the opposite, actually. And so please carry on. And when I raise my hand, there's no urgency. If there were urgency, I would say so, believe me. And so please carry on. Thank you.
Well, before we continue, I would like to ask Robbie how much more time he has to be here with us.
Well, so. I've got another like half hour. I can stay till about another half hour, maybe 11:30 at the latest. Okay. For me, okay. It's about 10 to 11 here where I am. So I can, I'm here for a little while. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the connection, the conversation. So yeah.
Thank you, Robbie. You just want to be considerate to your time as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. I didn't want to be presumptuous, but that's 30 minutes is a long time at the rate we're going. So please, Christopher, please continue.
I got to say, like when I arrived in this community, this started the day after the harmonic convergence. They started filming. It was supposed to be 24/7. We're not quite there yet. And when I met everybody, I met Jamin. I literally choked up because this felt like what I've been praying for a year. I've been under the stars every night. I usually go out and I meditate and I try to contact our star family. I talk to. This is something I never used to do, but because of this experience that I've been talking about, it started this a year ago to the end of the harmonic convergence. And so it's weird that you're here, man, because you're intimately connected with this stuff, but you were separate and, until you arrived here today, in my experience. So yeah, this whole, agape love that we have, I think there's been a few other people that have arrived here and, they've openly wept because we're living in this society that is based on reductionistic materialism, and it's radically lonely. It's, it's not real, but we're taught every day, that's woo, true oneness, go back to the real world. You can't really have this connection, or the way we interact with each other economically, the way we eat our food, what types of food we eat, our social, everything, everybody here already knows this, but I think this is more than just a great space to talk about great ideas. I think that there's an energy here. People sense, I know I did, that you don't have to be lonely in this radical sense, that reductionism, that the quote unquote real world forces us to believe, that you're just a walking bag of meat, basically. No, we're far more than that. And you're allowed to believe that here. We're allowed to not just believe that, but interact with each other at that level and create the new world with that level. So that's why if I can put it into words, why I choked up when I got here a bit. And I think that's why other people did too. And,
wonderful.
It's a bit
yeah, definitely. I agree completely. But, also recognizing as well, not giving too much power to that narrative. I think, like you say, the mainstream narrative is owned by very tiny amount of people. I mean, people are waking up more and more to the recognition that that's for profit, for control, for power, not for the benefit of humanity. So more and more people, we are going through the renaissance of consciousness. We're going through the revolution that's been happening for a while, but the way that my guides talk about it is ascension is spiritual in its most important way, but it's also technological. It's also, you know, us just communicating. We've communicated more in the last 20 years than we have in the last 20,000 years. Collectively, it's even the last 5 years, you know, is expanding. We're getting the hang of media, and that's why everything is being brought. That's why what 2020 is all about as well. It's our collective consciousness going, this is absolute nonsense. It's not just nonsense, it's absurd nonsense. And the reality of our closeness, of our oneness, of our connection, of our spiritual, mental, emotional, and you know, systemic connections that are the real connections, the heart connections, you know, the real life feeling that we are a oneness. That's had to be brought up. And ironically, the way that they've done this virus thing and the quarantine has taken us apart physically, but it's taken away all of the psychic bindings that we had to each other. We've been allowed a time of isolation that monks have been doing for thousands of years. And we're doing it as a collective, which has transformed their consciousness exponentially. There's nothing stopping this now, you know? So that heart opening that you're feeling is the next stage of human consciousness. It's natural MDMA. It's naturally opening up the serotonin, the dopamine. It's naturally opening up the DMT. It's naturally opening up everything. So there's no mistake that you were led to this group because you created it. You could look at it like you saw it before it happened and you joined in, or you can look at it like you created it. I mean, both are true. So how wonderful, you know? Absolutely.
That is wonderful. I have one question for you before I pass the microphone here for sure. I'm sort of wrestling with the idea between, you know, we have these divine forces and then you create it yourself. So I guess sort of what you probably that's what you're saying right now is that it's both. It's one and the same. The divine creates these things and you. But I guess I'm a lot of the time I'm looking outside of myself saying, you know, is this the correct pathway? And then that doesn't really jive with when you create something, you know. I'm not sure if I'm being clear. Some of these synchronicities aren't something that I believe I can create myself, even myself with a capital S. I feel like they're just so mind-blowing. They take place over like a full couple of years. You know, it's like what I understand to be God or source is part of what creates these things. But then if that's the case, that there's sort of an element of things being divinely timed or fate, you know. And I guess I'm just wrestling with the concept of fate versus you creating stuff. I guess that's a standard question everybody asks.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you what you think of that.
Well, I've had the same idea, the same thought before also, you know. But the way that my guides put it is it's vibrational, so it's both. Because there is no Christopher Dennis, there is no Robbie MacKenzie. You know, this is just an experience of our separation. And the points that we're at are about how we interact with that reality. So it's both. It's about how much you want to be part of it or how much you want to imprint upon it. So
I guess to clarify my question, Robbie, it feels like these synchronicities, a lot of the time, it's almost like it's pointing you in a direction that I like to think, maybe it's my Catholic upbringing, this is the right way to go, you
yes.
know? And so I don't know, sometimes it seems that there's an interpretation of synchronicities that it's not necessarily right or it's wrong, it's just it's something you've created yourself, which makes it, I mean, if you just made this up, then what's the meaning of that? So I guess there's a gray zone in between those two, I'm not sure.
Exactly. Well, that is the point of it, though. It is about the experience of it. It's not about there being a meaningful reason for it. And what I mean by that is the meaningful reason for it is the experience of it. So it's not about everything. We get to a certain point, we solve all the ills in the world, and suddenly we have a utopia, and that's us finished. That's part of what we're doing, but it's about the journey. It's about the opening. It's about the experience of being human. It's about having an adventure. It's about the adventure of consciousness, moving forward through the different points of you growing as an individual, of you growing as a person, of you as us growing as a species. Everybody is set up so we can have a myriad of different experiences. Like you say, there is no right or wrong. There are different ways to climb the mountain. There's different ways to cross the river. You know, it's what you choose and how you choose to open up your heart and how you are brought into an experience is partly what you've decided for yourself, what your higher self has given you an obstacle to move forward through. And how you experience that is largely up to yourself. You don't have to be on this path, but you're on a path of, most people that I connect with lately are on a path of karmic service. So they've realized that they're here to kind of purify themselves, to clear themselves, to you know, have the divine moving forward through them as much as possible. But every experience is a valuable experience because every experience is the point in separation. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's about your experience as an individual. It's about your experience having that cracking, what great long hair you've got. Fantastic. That experience of having that, being that, having that big beard. I've done the whole big beard thing as well. I've had my hair down my back as well. Lots of different experiences of being the same person, but being in a different way, a different place, a different point of service. A different experience of, well, what does this works, this just makes me miserable, this feels better, this feels more connected, more transformational, more divine, more open. You know, there is no right, there is no wrong, there's only experience. And if you see it from that perspective, then your choice is to do what you're led to do. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, there's no judgment in it. Divinely, there's no judgment in it. Because I am you. You are me. We're just having an experience of being separate. Do you know what I mean? So it's like getting to that point and moving forward through that, from that base understanding that there's nothing inherently that you have to do apart from what your own self leads you to. Do you know what I mean? You getting excited about your twin flame, you getting excited about feeding the world, you getting excited about saving the children, you getting excited about being a vegan, being a yoga teacher, do you know what I mean? Being in a band, whatever it is that excites you, that's your journey. That's where you're going to find the most joy. And the way that you can do that most effectively, in my experience, I can only tell you what comes through me from my own experience. When you align to the divine, you're empowered more to do what you need to do or what you're compelled to do, what you love to do than at any other time. Do you know what I mean? But this process that's happening globally, it's happening anyway. It's not going to stop happening. You can't stop a flower from blooming, but the flower won't bloom until it's time for the flower to bloom. And that's what's happening right now. It's blooming. There's so many people that are waking up and that are opening up. You know, you can't force it. When I first did my, when I first opened my Merkaba in like 2003, I had that experience, and then I'm like, everybody needs to open their Merkaba. You all have to open your Merkaba. You've got to open your Merkaba. It's the way to, you have to do it. You have to. You can't do that. You know, you can't. Everybody will come to this in their own timing. What your job is, or what your point of creation is recognizing what fires Christopher up. Do you know what I mean? What fires Diana up? What fires Jamin up? Do you know what I mean? Like what what's your specific you-ness? I sound like Dr. Seuss. The you of you is what you need to do.
Robbie, do you think synchronicities would tell you which person to be with? Like, would you say, like, if you're experiencing synchronicities with somebody, that means that person is your twin flame? Would you say that you could say that synchronicities are meaningful that way?
Yeah, this is part of why it's like you always, when I've spoken to you before, you always say the person that's presenting themselves as my twin flame. So with that caveat, you're basically saying, I'm open that maybe this is a karmic relationship, maybe this is a soulmate, maybe this is, what is this? You know, so this is part of the reason why I wrote Twin Flames, Merkabahs and More, to tell my journey and the way that I've experienced it, right? Because when I channeled the Clarion Call, that's one of the things that it mentions about meeting your twin flame. And when you open up your Merkabah, and how that will be a pair bonding that will last a lifetime and that will move you forward. But when that happened, there was a kind of, that was like a prophecy that was given to me 10 years before I met Angelina, you know, and they said she would come to Scotland, all that would happen, and then when she did, everything, you know, would take off, which happened. But I waited 10 years before that happened. But in the interim, that's why I wrote the book, because I was kind of like, where's my twin flame? Where is she? Is it that one? Is it this one? You know, and I think because we're inherently romantic creatures, you know, like we like the idea of our other half. Yeah, like the idea of meeting the one. We like that idea of that beautiful energy coming into our life, you know. And so I think that's a mechanism that the divine is using to get us into our divine state and open our Merkabahs. Right. Because of the way that our species looks upon romance and you know, connecting, you know, that's part of it, I think, to be honest.
This is why I've been skeptical, right? Like I generally don't. I'm like the opposite of the spectrum. I'm not somebody who's like sitting there saying like, oh, I got to find my soulmate. I didn't even believe in this stuff. The only reason I started paying attention to it is the universe, and the way I talk about it, started kicking my butt originally through you, and then your book, and then and so I had to pay attention to it, and then stuff started happening with this person. So much so it's been a crazy journey. And then I finally, even when we weren't talking to each other this past couple months, I actually asked the universe, the number that presents itself for me as meaningful is 444. I was like, you know, universe, I asked out loud, I was like, if this person is my twin flame, you know, let me know and with this number. And then within a few hours, 4 hours, there was a car parked outside of my house with the number 444 on the license plate. And of course, I've been looking for this number for months because it's significant for me. As crazy as that might sound to some people, would have sounded crazy to me a year and a half, 2 years ago, and now I understand this stuff to be significant. Within 4 hours, I saw this license plate, and that these types of things keep happening. So I guess when I'm asking you about synchronicities, is that something I created, or can I look at that and say, okay, the universe is talking back to me, the universe is answering?
Well, it's both. It's more. It's you coming into you're coming into a relationship with the universe as well as with your twin flame. It's not just about your twin flame. It's about your own connection to the divine. It's about your own trust of the path of following these synchronicities as well, of getting excited about it, you know, of trusting it. Because the more you trust, the more synchronicities happen. And the more synchronicities happen, and the more you follow the synchronicities, the more you're led in the direction that you're meant to be in. And it's not just about your twin flame, it's about your mission. So, right. Because even now, as when I'm with my twin flame, I'm still told detach, because when you're focusing in on the human part of it, you fall into old patterns, or you come into feelings of, you know, insecurity or possessiveness or jealousy or negativity or these different things, or these different human mechanisms that we're trying to evolve past. And the more that you detach from it, the more that you're able to connect into the relationship in a divine way. The easier it is for you to have fun, for the synchronicities to unfold, and for those negative aspects, or what my guides call your lower chakras. And I suppose really what it means is unbalanced chakras, really. But if you're coming from the place of the lower chakras, or if you're coming from the place of those things that cause you negativity or consternation or grief, or, you know, put you on a lower vibration, then you're wading through treacle. Whereas the more that you're detached and the more that you're enjoying the journey, the less important it is that that's actually who they are. And the more that you're acting from a divine way. So it's almost like you're treating everybody, like the whole of existence, like your twin flame. Do you know what I mean? Which leads you to the actual person that you can relate to, that you can be passionate with, that you can, you know, buzz words with, and that you can bounce ideas off of, and that will inflate your energy of yourself, and you will be able to inflate the energy of them. So it's like, so it's not just about them, it's about you and your relationship to the universe. So the lassie that is presenting herself as your twin flame, as you say, if you see her as each different person. So what I mean by that is the attitude of, this is all here for us, and this is a puzzle that's moving us together closer and closer. You know, you will get to the place where you will be drawn together, or you will get to the place where you help her move to where she's meant to be, and you get moved to where you're meant to be. I've just noticed it's 11:11 p.m. here. I love it when I see that. It's 11:11 in the UK. 11:11 p.m. That's one of those synchronicities. I love when I see that. I just glance up at the clock and it's a triple number, or 11:11. So that's one of these things. So even me saying that and then looking at that, to me, that is when I see that's a confirmation for me. That's like, well, what I'm saying here is right in my experience. Do you know what I mean? So you're looking at it from that perspective. The whole of creation is your twin flame from that perspective, which brings in the actual person, the personification of the twin flame ideal that you connect with, and that you open up with, and that you make love with, and that you bounce off of, and that you make a life with. Do you know what I mean? So it starts with the relationship's already there, even if you've not met yet. The relationship's there. That relationship was there just when I said 11:11 there. That relationship's there when you see that 444. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, whoa, this is getting exciting. What's this leading to? Where am I going next? What am I being led on to? Do you know what I mean? And it's just about keeping that heart open, keeping that glow opening. And that glow opening, that really, 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 really helps you open your Merkaba. In fact, it's probably the most important thing, because that's the most important thing about the Merkaba. If you're not opening your heart, if you're not projecting love, there is no fuel for the Merkaba. So the energy of unconditional love, the energy of romantic love, familial love, you know, whatever love that sparks your heart open, that opens your energy, that fills you full of love, that fills you full of light, that is the fuel for the Merkaba. And that's the state where, when you are putting the mechanism of the Merkaba meditations into play, and you're opening that energy so that you can experience that, that's what fuels it. That's what makes it spark open. That's what takes you to the next level, for interdimensional travel, for manifestation, for connecting with your twin flame, for whatever it is that you're doing with your Merkaba. It won't work unless you're in that state. So I think that's another reason why the twin flame concept, and why the twin flames are being brought together, why the soulmates, why the soul families, why the people that spark open your heart, because it doesn't work without it. But once it works, once it opens, once you're in that space, you're given exactly what it is you need. And part of you coming to peace and detaching from attachment to the outcome, or anything that brings you into feeling like as if you're not on the right track or anything. This takes you out of that. Do you know what I mean? And then it brings you optimism, it brings you enthusiasm, it empowers you, for the next stage of your journey, so that you don't get down about it, that you're not together, or that circumstances have not brought you into that place. You're perfectly where you're meant to be. You're exactly where and what you have created. That's an important thing to understand as well, because some people think about, how do I learn how to manifest? How can I learn how to manifest? Well, you're already manifesting. You've already manifested you. You've manifested you in the form that you're in, with the circumstances that you have, with the people that are around you, with the adventure that you have to solve, with the riddles of your life, with and it can be, what is, somebody was talking about some NLP stuff, saying you're a big chunker or a small chunker. So like a big chunker will think about, how do we solve world hunger? How do we solve the poor? Yeah, that's a big chunker. It's like thinking about the big things. And a small chunker is somebody that will think about the small details in their life. One is not better than another. They are both as equally important. But recognizing how you relate to the world is part of it. We're all big chunkers and small chunkers to a certain degree. But how you're opening your Merkaba is discovering what makes you tick, what's important to you. There's an artist that makes sculptures out of the lead in the end of a pencil. He makes these tiny, tiny little sculptures, and they're absolutely beautiful. And if you picked up one of these pencils, you wouldn't even see it. You would start writing with it and break the thing. But this is a small detail of somebody who's put their passion into something that seems irrelevant. Why would you even bother with that? But it's so beautiful. It's so perfect. And that's been perfect for that person. Do you know what I mean? And I'm saying this as an illustration of what is for you will bring you to your, whether that's solving world hunger, or whether that's making a sculpture out of an angel dancing in the lead of the tip of a pencil. That's what's going to spark ascension, because that's what opens your heart. Do you know what I mean? That person with the lead sculpture is not going to be interested in feeding the world. Just like the guy that's feeding the world is not going to be interested in the lead pencil, probably. But so it's about you, exactly. So it's about your own personal you leading you, and which leads you to your twin flame. That was my point. Do you know what I mean? This is part of what it says in the clarion call. Whatever that is what you are being encouraged to do, and that's entirely unique to you. You know what I mean?
So you don't think we can fool ourselves then, Robbie, with by creating sort of a synchronistic field around ourselves, since we're the creators? This doesn't involve any type of fooling yourself. It's always because there's love and trust involved. Then it's all about truth. The aspect of being fooled by the process doesn't come into play, would you say, or can it?
Well, everything is morphable. If you, that's the whole point in detachment, right? Even if you're in a circumstance where even that whole concept of fooling yourself, you're never fooling yourself, ever. You're having an experience. Even if you're having an experience of fooling yourself, you're creating that experience of fooling yourself. Do you know what I mean? The more that you come into the honesty within you, as far as what you really want, as far as where you really want to be, as far as how you really feel about this. Because, and especially as light workers, like, doing things from a compassionate space. That's another reason that I wrote Twin Flames Merkabahs more for, because some of the relationships that I've gotten into in the past have been, I got married because I did like the lassie, right? I had love for the lassie, but it was I write that in the Twin Flames book. It was part of it was compassion. It was because she had been, she nearly died, and she had a hard thing, and then suddenly the wee one was running into my arms calling me daddy, and I was the savior, and it was a whole experience that I was kind of deluding myself about. But I did love them. I loved them. I had love for them, but I shouldn't have gone that route. So that was 5 years of my life that wasn't wasted, because I loved them and I had that experience, and I think I helped them. But I think this is what you're talking about, is am I deluding myself? Do you know what I mean? It's like, if it was only once I had actually, circumstances maneuvered themselves. I explain that in the book as well. So I was at a point where that all broke down, because it wasn't from, like you say, a point of, I wasn't doing it because I should have been doing it. I was doing it for different reasons. And that's why I was including all of that, because I think, because we are romantic, but we're also compassionate, sometimes compassion can get in the way of what's good for us, So that all happened because of that. So I think that's why I'm trying to answer your question as far as what you're saying about, am I deluding myself? Do you know what I mean? So I don't think I wouldn't change what happened there. I wouldn't change that in my life. I learned a lot from the process, but most of what I learned was about being honest with myself. Do you know what I mean? Most of what I learned was that, and unless you're really following the path of your own authenticity, you will still learn, you will still love, you'll still be of value, but you won't have as high an experience as you can from saying, actually, this is what I want. Actually, this is who I am. Actually, that's the path that I want to walk, and not this path. And maybe I'm being manipulated, or maybe I'm being put upon, or maybe I'm just fooling myself because I want it to be in a certain way. And that's when detachment comes in. Do you know what I mean? Because you get into that place and it's kind of like, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I have to put it all up to God. I have to put it all up to God. I have to put it all up to prayer. I have to put it all up to my higher self, or however you quantify that. I think the word God has certain negative connotations. So the universe, I'll put it up to the universe, and it's only in those moments that you're being completely authentic to yourself, that you're really connecting into the divine energy. And it's from that place that the truth unfolds in front of you. Do you know what I mean? Then you're kind of like, actually, I'm kind of glad that didn't happen. Maybe there was obstacles to that for a reason. maybe I would have been out of my depth. Maybe the circumstances would have been put up such pressure upon me that I would have been miserable. It's like coming in alignment and detaching makes you see these things from a different perspective, because that happened to me several times. Even after opening Merkaba, even after being on a spiritual path, recognizing sometimes people manipulate you, or sometimes you're manipulating yourself. Sometimes you're lying to yourself because you think you should, or you think it's the right thing to do, or you think that you're making a rod for your own back because you're not really aligning yourself to your own truth. So ultimately, that's another reason why it's not for the faint-hearted, because you have to think, am I in this to further my own personal mastery, or my own personal mission, or my own personal divine quest, or whatever it is, or what is my motivation? Is it because I'm a romantic soul? Is it because they're really attractive? Is it because they're really sexy? Is it because there's different things that I'm not weighing up properly as far as this is concerned? So it brings you into your divine discernment. Do you know what I mean? And more and more.
I got to say, for me, it was all spirit that started this, and then I just second guessed myself. But that's for another story. I got to pass the microphone off to Jason or Jamin though, because I'm sorry, I've been monopolizing the time here.
Sorry, I hope that I've been of service to you in my answer.
So huge, Robbie. I appreciate that, man. It's an honor talking to you, and I hope I can talk to you more after this. You and I maybe on Facebook or something.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And Danny has had his hand raised for a while. Danny, do you have a question for Robbie?
I do. I wanted to know what his advice is for people who have had breakthroughs. And I mean, in my own case, I had a major setback, and it's been going on for 5 years, where I feel trapped in my ability to be light in hardly, any amount of time. It's a struggle, and my mind isn't helping me. But being around this and witnessing other people popping, and know that I popped years ago and then something happened. It's like it's saddening and frustrating to me, because I know where I was, I know where I want to be, and I'm not there. So I wondered if you had any advice for someone in my situation. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I hope, really, you have to accept completely your situation the way that it is, as a service for where it is you want to be. So completely, and then keep mixing things up. I understand where you're coming from, Danny, because I've been in that position myself as well. And even after, like you say, popping open and opening your Merkaba and being one with the universe, and, and I can conquer the world, and then suddenly it's like I'm wading through treacle. And for me personally, it's always about, well, why am I wading through treacle? What's brought me into this place? And having to keep mixing everything up until I'm not wading through treacle again, And I think, as it says in the Galactic Council books as well, the closer you are to the summit, the more surreal will seem the circumstance. And so you get to that place where you feel like you say, you pop open, you open your Merkaba, you're on top of the world, and then suddenly it's like you go backwards, and it's like, I'm in a place where I wasn't before I even started opening up. How is that possible? But it's an adventure. And I think a lot of that is about your mental body. So it's about the way that you're quantifying it, the way that you're looking at it, the way that you're framing it or reframing it. That's what benefits me, anyway. Whenever I get into what seems like a quagmire, or what seems like as if I can't move, or that, I'm just not in a good space, I have to reframe it. It starts mentally for me. I reframe it. Then I look at what I'm doing. What are my habits? What is my day? How am I structuring everything? How am I allowing myself to be in that place where I'm wading through treacle? Do you know what I mean? And then from that place, I move forward. But everything's always morphing and changing. So this will pass. How it passes and where you go to once it passes is about how much you put into it and what your preparation is for the next level. And if you've already popped open, you know that you can pop open. So if you've already opened your Merkaba, or if you've already gotten into the place where you've overcome, you can overcome again. And the next time you overcome, you can overcome, and you can move forward and move forward and move forward. That my guides always talk about moving forward, because if we stay in the same position, we will only stagnate, and we're meant to be moving. We're meant to be enjoying this. We're meant to be embracing, well, why am I here? Who's around me that's meant to be benefiting from my presence? What am I doing in this situation that I can't move, that I'll be able to say when I'm not in this situation, that I got out of this situation? Because this situation will change. Everything changes. It all changes. Always. So this is about how fast that changes and where you want to go with the change. Maybe you're in this position because you need to change direction. Maybe you're in this position because you need to take inventory of your whole life, of your whole relationships, of the way that you're looking at things since you popped open. Everything can always be looked at in two ways. If you flip it from I'm not where I want to be to how exciting I can create a different future, you'll look at it from a different perspective.
But it also has to do with my state of being, like not feeling like I can snap out of being stuck in this particular miserable, sad place, you know?
Well, it might also be right now, because if you, having popped open as a light worker also, remember, part of what's happening just now in 2020 is all of the empaths around the world are feeling this. You know, it's a place where it has made an awful lot of people feel like they can't move, or that they're in a difficult mental space. So maybe a lot of what you're holding on to or what's weighing you down isn't even yours. So maybe that's about you clearing that, or you recognizing that that's your empathic reality, or recognizing that that's part of you feeling the world in transition. Because the world is in a really messed up chrysalis right now. But that chrysalis has to be messed up in order for us all to come out of it and spread our wings. So the state of this heaviness, of everything that's here, maybe that's part of what's weighing you down also, you know? And you taking steps, you making sure, you know, making sure you meditate, making sure you pray, making sure you move, making sure you look at what you're fueling your body with, or, you know, how much fresh air you're getting, or whatever routine you're giving yourself, how kind you're being to yourself, or what you're dwelling on, even dwelling on the more that you focus on the problem, the more the problem will expand. The more you focus on the solution, the more the solution expands, and the easier it is to open up, and the easier it is to come into the light, or to come into the lightness of being, the happiness, the alignment, you know, with who you truly are, with what you can truly experience, you know? So the way that I'm seeing this energy with you is, I think it's half you're an empath and you're holding on to the stuff that you're feeling. So you need to let that go. And it's half you're dwelling on not being where you need to be, instead of focusing on what you want to experience. So to try and flip that around, it will move anyway. It's a matter of when, not if. So this is about just now for yourself to be proactive, you know, to shake up the energy, to do a dynamic meditation. Do you know what I mean? To drink loads of water, you know, to do some yoga, to do some stretching, to open your Merkaba, to do some singing bowls, to keep looking at different solutions instead of keeping dwelling on the problem or the perceived problem. Do you know what I mean? Because that reality is your reality to change, and you can change it. You will change it. You're going to change it. And nothing ever stays the same, ever. Everything is ephemeral. We are all bubbles, all of us. We will all pop, you know, eventually. It's enjoying being that ephemeral bubble. That's the beauty of the moment. So shift your perspective from being in what is a difficult, hard place to, how can I shift the perspective of this? How can I allow myself to empower myself? You know, and you will. It will change. It always does, and it always will. And the more that you can appreciate, be in the moment of it, the easier it is for you to enjoy the moment of it, even if it's difficult. You know.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I hope it helped, Annie. I hope it helped you. You know. And do you do the Merkaba meditation? What meditations do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
I just usually do things off of YouTube. It's been I used to do it a lot more when I was lighter. So it's been a struggle because of my mind chatter and everything. So I'm just starting over again. I just picked them off of YouTube. I'm experimenting, but I'll go to you. I just found out about you. Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Have a wee look. There's a good one. Like if I get stuck, or if I get into a negative mind space, and you know, and all of the things that I'm usually doing are just, I can't be bothered with it. I look at, there's you know, the Hertz meditations. Have a look at 528 Hertz.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have a look at 528 Hertz.
Yep.
Miracle Tone. 528 Hertz Miracle Tone is an 8-hour, it's only a tone, but you don't have any active meditation in it. You just sit and listen to it, and it helps you get into that more positive mind space that helps you motivate yourself towards the next stage of meditation. Try that. How about we try that? Just keep mixing it up, right? Know that you're loved, Danny. You're loved. You're in an experience of love here, and you're supported. You just, keep going. Keep going.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lots of love.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Robbie. And we have Linda also. Linda, do you have a question for Robbie?
No, I don't have a question. I just have an expression of extreme gratitude. Gosh, what a blessing. It's just amazing. I love this community so much. Diana, I love you for bringing him here, for everyone in this group, and Christopher for your bravery. I'm so proud. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Linda.
you, Linda.
And I second that emotion, Christopher. You're doing really well. You're doing really well, Jamin. You're doing really well, Diana. I love this group. You're great. I'm going to have to go. I appreciate you all, though. It's been a lovely Zoom. It's been a lovely evening. Thank you for asking me. So that's beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you all for having me here. So before I go, have a wee look at Twin Flames, Merkabahs and more. Have a wee look at that if you're interested in the Twin Flame experience. That's my life story as well. So have a wee look at that if you're interested. And if you want to open your Merkabah, have a wee look at this one. This is the one that I was talking about. Metatron, this is the clarion call, because that's kind of, I think that's the most powerful channeling that I've really ever done. But we're all changing, we're all transforming, and this is an experience of that. The love that you're all giving to this, and that you're all putting into the world. This is real media. This is real media. This is what's going to become mainstream media, right? Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the fear, right? We're transforming. And it's just wonderful to be here. Your hearts are so open. And we're going to do it. Jamin, you're going to feed the world. Fantastic. It's all happening. So that's great. You're doing really well. You're a part of the people. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you so much, Robbie. And, people are expressing their gratitude on the chat box. I also posted the link for your Facebook page, Instagram, your web page, and the link for the Clarion's Call book. I haven't posted the one for the Twin Flame, but that will be also on the comment box for anyone that will be interested in learning more and connecting more with Robbie. So thank you. I cannot express how much gratitude I feel for you coming here and just sharing all that your experience with us. Thank you so much, Robbie.
And quickly, I just want to propose a new nickname for Robbie. I just want to plant the seed. We don't have to vote on it now or anything, but the nickname would be the King of Scotland, because when Robbie speaks, all of us are just like, yes, we're with you, yes.
I love it.
Can't wait to meet the Queen of Scotland, because this is the era of the divine feminine. But anyway, the divine masculine, you embody it so well. The King of Scotland, long live the King. All right, love you, Robbie.
Wonderful.
And come back anytime.
Thank you, Robbie.
Lots of love. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What a love bomb you just dropped on us, Diana.
That was so beautiful. That was so much. I knew he was coming, but it was a lot, just so much love and so much connection, I think, with all of us. So thank you so much for having this space, Jamin, and thank you for everyone that participated. Thank you.
Well, you know what? I say let the after party rock on. The main party with Robbie being DJ and pouring drinks and everything, snacks. I mean, whoa! I say, let's not miss a beat. I don't even want to take a break. I've had my hand up for a while, but I'm really glad that
I didn't see your hand. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry. Don't you even worry about that. It was perfect because I wanted Diana to speak and Linda to speak. Number one, this is the era of the divine feminine. So ladies first for a change, right? For a permanent change. And also I had an opportunity to speak before. But I just love everyone sharing. Christopher, that was so beautiful. Diana, so beautiful. And, we're all, and if I can just jump into my share, but back to you, Diana. I'm sure you got more to say.
No, I'm fine. Just please go ahead.
Okay, awesome. It is just think of what an honor it is to speak to all of you. What an honor it is for each of us at any moment when we raise our hand and we share, whether through chat or speaking or whatever. Such an honor. And I wouldn't trade this moment for anything. And I feel like we're like at the tip of the rocket ship, just forging our way in. Because just consider, one of the things I wanted to share is, Christopher, when you were sharing that, hey, am I creating this, or am I just downloading it from the divine? I'm paraphrasing. And when I do that, just a very strong invitation to unmute and to say, no, Jamin, what I actually said was this, right? Anyway, feel free. For that applies to everyone. Or even speaking for someone else, like if they had to step away or whatever. But anyway, imagine that in between these two spaces of the me and the divine, right, there is an intersection, a mashup, right? A secret love child, and or an on-ramp from me to the divine, right? And imagine that secret love child is precisely this. Imagine we are the new Brady Bunch, right? And this is the secret love child. It's the us coming together. I mean, what else, right? And so this is like a glorified rest stop on our way to complete unity, the divine, whatever one would call it. And I love how Robbie is just like so flexible. It's like, hey man, whatever faith you come from, look through that lens. If that's how you see the world, go for it. And so for me, where we are at right now is just utterly profound. And, you could think of, in terms of what's possible as we come together and as we form this network of networks, as I've shown on this pattern on my shirt, our ability to do collective sense making skyrockets exponentially. Our ability to co-create solutions skyrockets exponentially. Our ability to come to agreement on what we want to focus on as a community collectively, what we want to prioritize. And that's, the substance of what I drafted up in the declarations of independence and interdependence. If I could just get a quick showing of hands, who had a chance to read it, even, partially, just curious, prior to today. I mean, thanks, Christopher. Marco, I think you read it. Anyway, okay, great. I just wanted to get an idea. Danny, thank you for that. And
Not yet.
No worries.
I think I missed it. Read what?
In my email that I sent last night at like 1 in the morning or 1:30 in the morning Pacific time, for today's solution, for this solution club, I included, thank you, Bridget. I included a write-up, which I can read through. In fact, I'd love to read through it at some point, but I first wanted to kind of frame it a little bit. But what it is it's two declarations, plural, declarations of independence and interdependence, independence from hunger and the interdependence of all of life, and how those two really fit together. So I'll read through it at the right moment. I'll probably even screen share and whatnot in a little bit. But first, some stuff prior to that kind of leads up to that is just consider for the moment the power and efficiency and beauty of an ant colony right? Where all the ants are working together in this beautiful unison, right? In this beautiful harmony to accomplish an objective. And where there are, are, in the case of the leafcutter ant colony, I think there's something like 7 or 8 or 9 different, whatever, uh, bodies of, some are very, very tiny, and like the big soldier ants are huge, and the little, digester ants are super tiny and whatnot. But anyway, it's all one colony. And so the organism is the whole of the colony. It's not, any one of those ants simply couldn't make it on their own. They would just die, right? So it really takes the whole machinery of all these different, I hate to use the word caste, but I'll use it, the castes of ants, these 7 or 8 or 9 different castes of within the leafcutter colony. But the way they're able to orchestrate and manage this dynamic complexity of all of them working together in their different ways is through a combination of their DNA, right? A lot of it's just hardwired in, but they make extensive use of signaling, passing messages to each other, and they do this in 2 ways. One is by leaving chemical trails, chemtrails. No, but nice organic, the good kind of chemtrails, exactly. I think they're pheromones or whatever the heck they are. Saying, hey, there's a lot of food here, or there's a diminishing supply over here, or hey, everybody, we got to go over there, or whatever, right? And then they also kind of do this dance in front of each other when they bump into each other on the trail, right? And so, but their objective is fixed, right? Get the leaves from whatever sources, bring them back to the anthill, digest them, and therefore power the ant colony. And, ultimately grow and expand or relocate when needed or whatever. But, they've got a fixed set of routines. In our case, we've got tremendous flexibility, right? And also in our case, instead of it being some sort of like command and control, Cambodian Khmer Rouge style, you must do this or we'll chop off your head. The ideal is all volunteer, right? Just like no one is forced to be here, right? Could you imagine Christopher here at gunpoint? Christopher, sorry for the stupid analogies, but, or under any kind of duress, right? It's just ridiculous, right? So it's all volunteer, and, from the conversations themselves that bring us together, so that per David, we can start the gear shift. Actually, David, based on your analogy, I came up with sort of like 2 different phases of gear shifting. One is shifting into conversation. From conversation, we can reach, for lack of a better word, consensus. I'm just going to use it very loosely in a very umbrella way, right? Through conversation, we can reach some kind of glorified consensus. And, or even if we don't, which is more likely, there will always be, just like there's always a number 1, number 2, number 3 brand of toothpaste. The names may change, but there's always a lead brand, and there's always a 1, a 2, and a 3 for beer, for toothpaste, for automobiles, you name it. And so likewise, there will be the most popular, missions that not everyone will agree to, but a lot of people will agree to. Like they'll say, let's just go out and end hunger. And even if there are people opposed to it and even vehemently opposed to it, the ones who want to end hunger, just go forward and do that. Same with the ones who want to do SRM. Same with the ones who want to do sculpture on the tips of mechanical pencils. Right? So anyway, I believe in this sort of dynamic marketplace of ideas, marketplace of solutions, marketplace of conversations, right? So each of us is just following our own bliss at any moment and netting out where we net out, ending up where we end up in whatever conversation with whatever group of people. I'm just super grateful that the synchronicities have brought us all together, right? And so anyway, I just wanted to, share some stuff, share all that. And again, very happy to read the declarations of independence and interdependence. Very happy to read that and screen share it and all kinds of good stuff. So, but first, Danny has her hand up. Go ahead, Danny.
That was from earlier, dear, when you were counting. So I don't have anything to say.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you, Danny. Yeah. All right. Well, let me see if I can pull up what I need to pull up in terms of the declarations. All right. Indeed, I have it here. Let me just do a little experiment, because if you can see the whole width of the text, then great. But if not, I'll have to go to another computer, and that's not a big deal at all. But let me first just do this experiment. Okay. Can you, oh, say, can you see? All right, Bridget. Under phase 1, do you see where it says, go a couple lines, go like 3 lines down, conversation.cc is evolving to become : and then do you see it go, what do you see at the end of that line?
For me, maybe it's my internet. It's all blurry. So I'm going to open I'm going to open your actual email.
Okay, is there anyone else who can see what I'm screen sharing? And is it,
I can see the whole screen. Maybe if you're on, but I'm on my laptop. Maybe it's for people that are on their phones that are not.
Oh, okay. Well, look, why don't I just read it? I'm just going to read it out loud. If you can see it, great. If not, no problem, because all you have to do is close your eyes and listen. Is that fair? Does that work for everybody? Okay. I won't be able to see you while I'm reading it because it does occupy the whole screen. So if you have something to say, please, 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 just talk. Don't raise your hand. Or Diana, if you want to manage people's hands, great. If not, great. But I'm just inviting everyone to just talk, okay? Okay. Declarations of independence and interdependence. Independence from hunger, interdependence of all life. As a pair, I'll just highlight them. As a pair, these two preceding declarations are mutually interdependent themselves, in that liberating an other, itself an illusion, from hunger, is in fact liberating oneself, singular, from hunger. Because any part of ourself being hungry meets the criterion for the whole is not free from hunger. You know, it's like if my right leg is hungry, then you cannot say, oh, Jamin is free from hunger. It simply wouldn't be a true statement. Now, hunger itself is a metaphor for a lacking of something essential to life. Water is essential. So is some form of energy. So is temperature. So is nonviolence. But hunger is also a very specific thing, most usually associated with humans, partly because in aggregate, we mostly tend to think about ourselves. We can end hunger permanently by first ending hunger for humans and subsequently ending hunger for all life, especially the broader sense of hunger, which is basically lacking of something essential. Hunger within humanity is something we can end now, literally, truly now. Once humanity sets her mind to it, hunger can be eradicated in less than 72 hours. And we're going to end it within a now moment, which is coming very, very soon. Like within a matter of weeks to months at the most.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just time. There's just no way we can let this drag out any longer. It's just ridiculous. The goal of ending hunger for all life in the broadest sense calls for the end of scarcity of all that which is essential to life. water, energy, food in the case of animals, photons in the case of plants and other nutrients, livable temperature, humidity ranges, atmosphere, gas, particulates, see First Amendment below, peace, and more generally, healthy relationships, both quantity and quality, both interspecies, like me with the crows, and intraspecies, within and between ecosystems, and so on. Now I can start to see you guys on the screen a little bit because I'm down that far on the page. Thanks for the thumbs up, Christopher. The fulfillment of the goal of ending world hunger and our full realization of our interdependence. See how I brought the two together? Independence from hunger and independence with all of life. And indeed, unity as one Mother Gaia, of which we're all a part. These are key milestones within our broader evolution into our very special role as Homo ahimsa, or caretaker species. Why us? For starters, we are blessed with the abilities associated with language, the ability to make tools, and now even robots, see the Second Amendment below, the ability to make meaning and stories made up of meanings, and so on, all the way to Tolstoy or the Bible. Of all the actions which this rapidly evolving Homo ahimsa can take, the following two phases of action are possibly the most urgent, and as a pair constitute possible vital early phases for the long-term finding our way out of the death spiral we are in. See the Third Amendment. Phase, you can probably hear the baby crows calling me. They want their food. What should I do? Should I feed them now, or no, they can wait a bit. Let them wait a bit. They need to, anyway, because we feed them like all the time. We're literally the sanctuary for all the baby crows. I'm not kidding. On the south end of Whidbey Island. Anyway, of all the actions which Homo ahimsa can take, there's two phases of action which I think are the most urgent, right? And that they are the first two phases for getting us out of the death spiral. They won't completely get us out, but they're the on-ramp. They're the off-ramp from the death spiral and the on-ramp for the pathway to healing. Okay? Phase one, getting together and feeding everyone 100% plant-based foods. Now, when I say this, what am I really saying? What I'm really saying is we're going to go and deliver food to everyone. Now, when we get to Bill Gates' house, where I've been, when we knock on the door, hello, Gates family, we have stew for you. If they say no, we're quite all right. We've got like thousands of years worth of food here, and we don't want your stew. Fine. We're not here to force our stew on anyone, all right? We're simply bringing stew to everyone, and they can take it or leave it. And I got a couple songs that I'd like to sing. The first is Let's Get Together. Let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why don't you and I combine? Let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah. We could have a real good time. And though we haven't got a lot, we could be sharing what we've got together. You see that reframing? It's not about quantity. It's about sharing. Because in sharing, there's love. And in love, there's abundance. And we don't need stuff. We need love, right? Okay. And then the other song is Get Right Back to Where We Started From. Because it's all right and it's coming on. We got to get right back to where we started from. Love is good. Love can be strong. We got to get right back to where we started from. Where do we start from? small communities running butt naked in the jungle, bonking and having a great time. And whenever anyone got any source of food of any kind, we all shared it, right? We shared it. And that's so beautiful. So we're going to get right back to where we started from with universal stew delivered to everyone's home in bulk, like I've talked about over and over. No packaging, just delivered in bulk. Bring your own pot. We'll fill it up for you right from the bulk truck. Supported by exponentially evolving networks of conversations, right? Such as where we are right now, the conversation.cc, all the way to deeply integrated and cross-linked networks, a network of such networks, like what the pattern on my shirt suggests. And here's a prediction I have, that this topic of feeding everyone and universal stew and universal bread and universal, green smoothies, and, thank you, Diana, for the juice. We'll provide that too. We got the juice, right? Imagine these just amazing, delicious, kale and fruit and chia seed and hemp heart, and all kinds of goodness, blended up, ginger, immune boosting. And, we got a whole tank on the truck that's just for that green smoothie. It's all refrigerated. Just bring your cup, bring your bottle, whatever you got, we'll fill it. Food on tap, smoothies on tap, bread on, well, kind of hard to squeeze a loaf of bread through a tap. So we'll figure out another way to hand the bread from the truck to you in a way that's totally hygienic and yada, yada. But I mean, just a revolution in food. What Elon Musk is doing to cars and space travel and, solar panels and all that, we're doing with food. We're the food people. And I believe that this whole topic of feeding everyone and universal stew and all that, delivering food to everyone, will be the killer app that will set the network of networks on fire and on hypergrowth, exponential hypergrowth. And soon we'll have a really significant percentage of the world in the conversation, not necessarily in our network, but somewhere in the network of networks, there will just be this thriving, food network. I hate to say the food network because that can be confused with the cable television network that's all about food. But I'm talking about the real food network, how we actually feed everyone. But anyway, but I digress. Back to the reading, a reading from the book of Jamin, where this and a single member network of the network of networks is exemplified by exactly what we have right here, the conversation.cc. Currently one conversation, but raise your hand if you were here when we had 3 going on the block party. We had 3 conversations going in parallel, right? Super cool, huh? See, what do you think, Christopher? Feel free to unmute and just like cheer or something. But I mean, that was like, the network of networks in action. Anyway,
that was pretty rad.
Oh man, I'm telling you. So you see, the network of networks is happening. Before I read more, let's just take a little intermission from all this reading and homework and stuff like that, and just like, I don't know, start a little food fight or something like that. Just have some fun, blow off some steam, dance. I don't know. Yeah, thank you. Ooh, nice. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Beautiful. Well, you know what? Speaking of food, I think that's my cue to go feed the baby crows. And while I'm doing that, why don't you all talk? I'll be listening in on my earbuds. I'm going to mute because I sing them a Spanish love song when I feed them, unless you want to hear me singing a Spanish love song. Anyway,
you feed the crows, Jamin?
Yeah. We feed the crows.
Awesome.
We feed they're baby crows. See, we put out so nicely for the crows that they literally bring all their babies to us from all across the south end of the island. And so this is the nursery for baby crows. And I'm Uncle Food Jamin. Uncle Jamin with the dank food.
I love it because everything starts at home. You're feeding home, you're feeding the crowds, and next is the world. So that's a cool, that's a good motto for that.
Yeah, from the crows to the world. Anyway, I'm going to feed the world of crows right here. I'll aim my camera towards the crows so you can see what's going on. And but I'll put on mute. So just carry on, just talk. I mean, I know we got a lot to say. We're about halfway through it, but what a beautiful beginning, because it's like feeding ourselves is like putting our own oxygen mask on. Right? Humanity, we're one of many brother and sister species, but we got to put on our own mask if we want to become the caretaker species. All right, I'm going to let y'all talk. Diana, would you please do me the honor of, welcome. And would please introduce yourself, say hello. And Diana, would you do the honor? Do you have time and energy to focus on kind of directing traffic, calling on people? Okay, Diana will call on you. Raise your hand if you got something to say, or if you can't raise your hand, figure out a way to communicate that you have something to say. Diana will call on you, and I'll be feeding the crows for the next few minutes, and I'll be back. I'm listening in, though. I'm listening in all the time.
Thank you, Jeman. Oh, and I had one more thing. Do you think we can start another recording so I can post the Robbie's part on the group? Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. That won't happen until we finish this meeting late at night or whatever, or tomorrow. But I'll get it to you for sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So I'd like to jump in here if it's okay. My name is David, and I also belong to another collective called The Good of the Whole. And it's really wonderful coming into this energy here. I need to say that, first of all. And I want to, a couple of things got triggered in Jamin's presentation. I need to jump in and just add my perspective on it. And this is not from a place of right or wrong. It's just how things look from my side of the circle kind of place. First one was when he mentioned the independence to hunger. And I don't know why it jumped at me, but I want to change that word hunger to starvation. Because I think in the cycle of life, there is something called hunger that needs to be addressed on a continual basis. I mean, animals hunt and kill their prey based on their hunger. We do things based on our place of hunger. So for me, the problem isn't so much whether we're hungry or not, but whether the hunger gets satiated, whether it gets met, whether the need there is met. And for me, the place of that hunger not being met is one of starvation, not hunger. I just want to throw that perspective in there. And the other part is in phase one, Jamin mentioned the place of feeding everybody, and he added the little caveat of everybody being part of a plant-based ecoculture. I'm still a carnivore, and at this point in time, I don't envision at this point in time in my life switching over to being either vegan or other versions. I have in the past, and at this point in time, I'm quite comfortable partaking of flesh. And I don't advocate one way or the other, but I just need to say that there are other members of the species that probably would feel the same way. And the question then is there some way that we can survive together in some way and have those needs met? I don't have the answer to that. I'm not.
I just want to answer real quickly before I go feed and sing to the crows, but just a real quick interjection, which is I'm not actually proposing that we have like martial law and make it illegal to eat meat. That's not what I'm proposing. I don't.
I didn't take it that way.
What I am saying is that the stew that we will provide will be 100% plant-based.
Gotcha. Okay.
You don't have to eat it if you don't want to. That's why I use the example of Bill Gates. Yeah. But anyway, okay, back to y'all. Thank you. Thanks.
And that was it. I mean, first of all, I want to just really acknowledge the tremendous amount of thought that went into putting those things down together. And I think in some ways what the resolution looks like, quote unquote, will look like, although in my perspective, there's no such thing as the future. So that's almost a misnomer. How things are appearing and how we will finally, and we are beginning to apprehend them. I think that the resolution is not perfectly clear yet. I'm in a place of acknowledging in my life. Most of my life has bounced back and forth in my almost 74 years of going back and forth between either Mr. Know-It-All or Mr. I don't know anything, and both extremes seem to have not really, for want of a better metaphor, fed me. Hello. I'm at this point in time in my life acknowledging that I don't know a whole lot more than I know. And that's kind of where I kind of exist in. And I think with that last thought, I'm a Leo, so I like to be on the soapbox a lot. So you have to excuse me. I think I'm complete, and I appreciate your ears. Thank you.
Will anyone like to comment on David?
Yeah, I want to say thank you for sharing your perspective. Can you hear me okay? I've studied with a lot of Native American elders, and what inspires me to share, what I'm inspired to share right now, is this deep, deep awareness of the circle of life. And in the book I'm reading right now, by the medicine man Bearheart, who is part of the groups of Native Americans who traveled the Trail of Tears. And he learned from 2 medicine elders before they passed away. And in his tradition, he was taught to honor the spirit of the animal that was going to present itself, and to learn how to take the life quickly so there's as little suffering as possible, and to give the very first animal away. So he gave the first squirrel he got to his sister so she would prepare it. And in that process of prayer, connection, and the animal sacrificing itself so that another species could live, who someday, and he acknowledged, someday his body would return to the earth and would then feed other organisms and microorganisms and other animals in the circle of life. So I come from a very humble and grateful experience, having tried many different food choices. And for my own self, I choose primarily raw vegan, just because that's what gives me the most energy and the most greatest sense of well-being for 15 years. However, I have noticed that I do better with some raw fish, and since that's a little harder right now, some canned salmon and canned fish. And I'm saying this because I feel this is a safe place to do so, that I honor all vegetable, all plant, all mineral, all all that gives life so that I might live. Thank you. And I honor all people who make conscious choices and bless the beings and the fruits and vegetables, the plants and herbs and animals and fish, whatever is available for their sustenance so that they might live and grow spiritually and with love.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to jump in, not because it's my turn, not because Diana called on me or gave me the talking stick, but I just want to clarify something. And Bridget, thank you so much for reminding us all that this is a safe space precisely for your kind of any sharing. This is a safe space for it, you know, beyond, you know, within the obvious boundaries, right, which we can always talk about. And those boundaries are really about the safety of everyone. And that is that one of our agreements is that no one is ever to be put on the spot, and ideally not asked a direct question unless they open themselves to it and say, listen, ask me any question you want, right? But in general, like, I'll just give an example. Christopher, can I use you as an example? Just give me a thumbs up. Show me a sign. Let me know you're here. Because my TV set just keeps it all from being clear. Okay, Christopher's probably away from his camera. Diana, can I use you as an example?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
here.
Christopher. Okay. No, Christopher gave me a thumbs up. So, like, it would be inappropriate for me to say, okay, Christopher, are you vegan? Right? That is that kind of direct questioning or whatever is actually not allowed within our agreements. Anyway, I just wanted to make that clear. So please be safe to express yourself, and please be safe in knowing that no one can ask you direct questions that invade your privacy in any way, shape, or form. You simply please do not answer unless you're really inspired to answer. But if it's a question that's of a privacy nature in general, please don't answer, even if you want to. It would be my request, so that we can deal with the safety issue that just occurred in someone being asked an inappropriate question, frankly. Anyway, I just wanted to give that as an example, because I got asked that question the other day and I didn't appreciate it. And I just wanted to make everyone know this is a truly safe space. And thank you again, Bridget. Going on mute. Back to you, Diana.
We were just listening to David, and Bridget was just finishing her prayer.
Oh no, I heard it all. I heard it all.
Okay.
And I I didn't miss a word. Trust me, not a single word. Carry on. And it looks like Bridget has her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Jamin. Thank you, David. Thank you, Diana. There have been times on the Friday block party when I have not felt safe to share that. And today I felt safe to share that. So I thank you all for creating a safe space here today, because it was weighing heavy on my heart about these food choices, because I've studied a lot and have had many health challenges in my 57-year journey so far, and have studied blood type and body types. And my partner, who's O positive, he does not do well as a vegan. And he suffers tremendously in his physical body and his mind and emotions if he doesn't eat some red meat and some meat. So I just want to be open in my own heart, and I love to keep an exchange of ideas and sharing in the most open-hearted way possible, and hope that I contribute to that conversation. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Bridget. And I want to say that it was a beautiful prayer. Thank you. I'm a little bit behind, but I just want to acknowledge that part. Thank you.
Again, I want to interject, because the subject of safety came up, and something which is very, very significant to me, which is that, Bridget, you didn't feel safe sharing that on the Friday block party, and thank you for sharing that here, because that's a real issue that is unresolved. And one of the reasons I say that is, well, I'll just give a little background on that, is a number of prominent and very active and very strident, if that's not unfair, vegans participate a lot in the block party. And in fact, one of our programs is from 5 to 7 p.m. every Friday afternoon is called Vegans of Color, right? And, you know, the vast majority of the wonderful ladies who participate in the Divine Feminine historically have been vegan. And so, and Food Healers, you know, is led mostly by, well, I participate in leading it, but I'd say the main leader is Dr. Silas Rao of Food Healers, and he is a major vegan leader. He's committed to a vegan world. And so, you know, how do we simultaneously, you know, have a safe space? And I think the answer is clear. The answer is N squared, the network of networks, right? Where, hey, if you want to have like an all vegan network, and they literally have an all vegan network, Vegan World 2026 on Basecamp, and they've actually struggled with kind of a flip side question now that it's in their camp. You know, do we welcome non-vegans here, or what they call pre-vegans? You know, because everyone's going to become vegan in their world, right? Do we? And so they've grappled with that. And I helped them co-create Vegan Collective Intelligence, and also Vegan Reflection, which is a double entendre between reflection, right, and SRM, Big Mirror Reflection, right? Because they're all down. I mean, most of them are totally down with SRM. Anyway, so there's interesting legacy here at play, because, you know, we've kind of supported each other as communities, Radish and Vegan World 2026. So there's some legacy there. And, you know, their fundamental approach and principle of nonviolence very unfortunately gets paired with a degree of violence on their part. And the violence on their part I would characterize in the following terms. May ye without sin cast the first stone. They are taking it upon themselves to cast stones, you know, as if the fact that they are vegan makes them free from sin, makes them kind of like, we're up here, you're down there, we get to, you know, we get to judge you, belittle you, you know, judge. And that's the part that I really have trouble with. And so what I propose to them is that way better than judgment and shaming and interventions and all this stuff in terms of getting in people's faces is, and I put it in the form of a joke that I think, you know, like a riddle that I think my dad would like, which is like a joke that he would tell when we were kids is, you know, how do you get four elephants into a Volkswagen Bug, right? And the answer, 2 in the front seat, 2 in the back seat. In a similar tone, how do you make the world go vegan? Answer, feed them plant-based foods. You see how there's no shaming there? We're just here. This is what we have to offer as a gift. We love you. Please eat, right? There's no shaming. There's no, you know, there's just gift. There's just love, right? And I've also shared with them that, you know, the big meat industry, which is their big, you know, their big target, their main target, that industry is going extinct anyway, thanks to COVID, right? And, you know, we're getting much more into local chickens like we got here on South Whidbey Island. And I partake. Those chickens are happy. You know, we literally get the eggs right where they lay them. We bring our own cartons, and they're happy. And it's like, okay, you know. But anyway, I don't dare bring that up on, you know, like, don't tell anyone kind of thing. But I don't feel safe sharing that when I'm surrounded by a bunch of vegans. And so, you know, and I don't claim to be vegan. I'm very supportive of my vegan sisters and brothers and everything they stand for, except for the violence. And if you're preaching nonviolence, you know, it might be nice if you exhibited some, right? And go for it, Bridget.
Thank you so much. I wanted to check in with you about possibilities because there was another level of the conversation that felt very polarizing when one woman suggested that she do a practice like Reiki to turn people into vegans. It's like imposing on somebody's free will without their permission to make them something that they're not. And all I could do was put in the chat, lovingly, they have free will. I knew not to engage because it was such a volatile conversation and I didn't want to be attacked. And having grown up with a mother who attacked me more than I would like to tell you, I knew to be quiet. But in order for me to continue being a part of the conversation, I need to find safe ways to be able to. So I just held loving space and, you know, prayed that somebody wouldn't make that choice, because that energy that we put out there to manipulate somebody else against their will that raises a whole other issue.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm really so grateful that we have this space, mainly for the network, right? But also for me as an individual, right? It's like Hair Club for Men. I'm not just the president, I'm also a client, you know, and I need this safe space. Right. Thank you so much, Bridget. Oh my goodness. I am so honored to be your brother, and I am being your brother, right? And it's such an honor and a joy. And, you know, I feel like we're in a safe place up in our room upstairs after school, you know, with, I'm just going to say vegan milk and cookies if we choose. And, you know, and see, even that's become a habit that as a protection against, you know, getting dings on my report card, right? As a bad pre-vegan or whatever. So it's limited my self-expression, and you know, it's like let the world discover plant-based cuisine by cooking the most delicious stews. Make a Pakistani stew, you know, make a Myanmar stew, right? Make a Singapore stew, but all plant-based. And the reason it has to be plant-based is not a dogma. It's just practicality, right? Animal meat, dairy products, they don't travel well. They don't go through up and down heat cycles well. They're breeding grounds for bacterial growth. So just totally separate. Let's just separate two things: all the ethical, moral, violence versus nonviolence, all that, from just the practical. And on the practical basis alone, including the practicality that we can meet, I'm going to say 100% with asterisk nutritional needs. And that's with loving respect to those who have a certain need for whatever, right? That's maybe not plant-based. And so, you know, needs are needs. And, but I think I can safely say we can cover maybe easily north of 99% of the need in terms of starvation. And thank you, David, even though I don't think I see you here at the moment. Thank you, David, for that distinction. I'm like really taking that in and saying, you know, liberation from starvation. It's got a nice ring to it, among other things.
Yeah,
let's see. I'm going to go on mute. Diana, go for it.
Am I talking? Sorry, I
Oh, it
didn't
might.
know I was at
No,
mute.
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
I was just saying I love it, liberation from starvation. That's very beautiful. And I want to add that I think one of the, hold on, let me put my, I think it's realizing that I guess the root of a lot of things that are going on right now is exactly that, the not respecting the other person's choices, you know, and trying to impose what we think it's right and what we think it's wrong, because at the end of the day there's no such thing. We all are here for the same reason, you know, to evolve as a whole species. And I think compassion and acceptance is, you know, at the beginning of that.
So I love it. And in fact, I just thought of a new title for the whole thing. Instead of declarations, plural, of independence and interdependence, which make them sound separate, how about a declaration of liberation and interdependence? Liberation from starvation and interdependence of all life. And liberation from starvation, then starvation becomes a new metaphor. And thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. Love it. Appreciate it so much. The independence, the liberation from starvation is both a real thing in the case of humanity and other species who, let's face it, we're all climate refugees at this point. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, I feed the baby crows out of love and duty and joy. And see, they just thanked me. Literally, you could just hear it. These synchronicities are just amazing. Clap, 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 clap. They're like my homie. Anyway, so it's just such a beautiful interdependence that we have, right? And I invite them to participate in the, you know, the collective intelligence, because they are famous for being collectively intelligent in amazing ways. Like, wow. Anyway, there's like the Crow professor at the University of Washington, you know, just south of here in Seattle, right? Who's studied them extensively over many, many years. Anyway, I'm going on mute. I love all the sharing. And I don't even think we need to raise our hands anymore. Let's just jump in when you have something to share.
Cool. I have something weird to just because you were cawing back at the crow. I do that on a regular basis. And I've kind of figured out a little bit of how to speak to birds. I feel like the name of them is kind of their sound. So, you know, you have the crow and then you're going with the caw, kind of like them. And then I realized with hawk, it's almost like you're saying their name back to them. Hawk. And then I learned with raven, it's more of like a rook sound. So I'm one of those weird people who talk to the birds too. So I love this. And thank you guys. A little bit more just to share about me and how I got here, obviously through Harmonic Convergence, but today might have been someone else was talking about synchronicity of coming on here. Was it you, Bridget? I believe. Just happened to come on. It was, yeah. This morning I work from home. I brought my iPad down to my workstation and I was like, you know, oh, I'm gonna watch something today, and I didn't know what, and I just kind of sat here on my desk and I didn't use it all day. And then about, gosh, I want to say like less than 5 minutes before this started at 1:30, I jumped on Facebook and checked out the group and saw that this was going on. So I jumped on, and that was what my iPad was here for. And it was just beautiful. I loved everything that was said, and everything has been relevant. And to Christopher, I feel like you know, how Jamie was trying to tell you to go ahead and talk. We're all here for a reason, and we're all here together for a reason. And so maybe part of our reason is to listen to what you have to say. So just validating that it's okay to take space and take your time and share with the group, just like I felt like doing right now, because I have to sign off in a minute to go have social distance dinner with a friend. So thank you guys. I love you all. You're all beautiful souls, and I'm glad you're a part of me.
Love you, Feather. Thank you so much for being here. Go ahead, Bridget, Diana.
Oh, I just want. Go ahead, Bridget.
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you to Feather for sharing, and I think one of the things, it is very important that we are. I love that she said that this is space to listen, and I think it's a beautiful thing, because it made me realize that we're here to listen, and we are listening from a heart space, you know, where we're just here to listen to what others have to say and to share and to learn. So thank you, Feather, for that, and thank you for showing up here.
Would you like to hear a little bit about Crow from Animals Speak? Oh, it's hard for you to see. I have this beautiful book. Oh no, I'm, where'd you go? I have this beautiful book, and it says, Crow, the secret magic of creation is calling. And the cycle of power is all day, all year. And the author, Ted Andrews, his grandfather told him that the crow was the smartest of all birds. What's more, it even knew it was the smartest of birds and enjoyed it to the fullest. In fact, it was so smart that it chose to stay a crow rather than move on to some other area of evolution. And it has a unique ability to outwit most birds, animals, and even humans at times. And they make for themselves a wonderful living. So there's 2 pages. I'm not going to read it all, but what is calling to me is that they can be messengers calling to us about the creation and magic that is alive within our world every day and available to us. And I find it so beautiful that you have this relationship with them, both Jamin and Melissa. And I have a long-standing relationship with crows because of being with a man, Dancing Crow, for a year and a half, who was studying with the Lakota medicine ways as a sun dancer. And he had, when he found the spiritual path, after many years of suffering, and he had been a Vietnam vet, 2 tours in the Army, and had used drugs and alcohol, and then he became clean and sober. And when he was clean and sober for a period of time, he had a vision, and black elk came to him in the form of an elk on a mountain. He saw this elk, and it turned into a man, and it was black elk. And black elk told Jim, Dancing Crow, read my books. And a friend came into his life with the copy of Black Elk Speaks, the life of that Lakota medicine man. He began reading and studying, and then found teachers, and would travel from New York City out to Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and be in the sweat lodges and be in the sacred ceremonial Sundance and do that sacrificial flesh offering every summer while he was alive. And he took us on a sacred journey to tell the story of how he got crow medicine. And I don't remember all the details. I wish I had recorded him telling us. And he passed on in 95. But wherever we went, wherever Dancing Crow and I went, tons of crows would gather. Like 60 to 80 crows would be like in the big tree up where we were sitting. And they'd be like having a huge party. And it gave me such joy. I was always connecting, like even after he crossed over and I learned to connect with his spirit at times and channel music. I had this one day I was walking on a path where I lived, and I felt his presence. It's kind of a strange story, but I was working on a book. I was writing a book, and I think he had wanted me to write his book, but he had already passed over, and that was kind of a hard thing to do. And I was walking, and I took my glasses off, and they were in my hand, and I felt an energy want to knock my glasses out of my hand. I couldn't see anybody, but I was like, is that really happening? Is someone trying to knock my glasses out of my hand? And if so, who would do that? And that was his kind of way of messing with me for the 1.5 years we were together. So, Chris, a footnote, challenging relationship, but that was one of my soulmates, and so grateful for the journey. So he said, I felt his presence right in front of me as soon as I thought, could that be Jim, Dancing Crow, like trying to knock my glasses out of my hand? Like, and then I felt him. I kept walking, and I felt him right in front of me, like this presence. He's like, I'm like, Jim, is that you? And he's like, yeah, when are you going to work on my book? I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I was taking a break from writing. I was walking. I just kept pushing through his energy. And I said, when I get a sign, you don't tell a shaman medicine man that you're going to do anything for him when you get a sign. Okay. Number one lesson, because in that area, I had never seen a crow. I had seen a couple ravens, but not 5 minutes after I told Dancing Crow I would work on his book after I got a sign, I heard the crows coming, like multiple crows. And I counted them coming from the east, traveling toward their place where they would roost, like over 60 crows. And I'm like, oh no, what have I done? I told Dancing Crow I would work on his book. And I haven't resolved that question yet. And that was like in 2003, okay? I love you, Dancing Crow. We're gonna have to establish a better connection for me to write your book.
Can I offer something?
Yes.
You mentioned Pine Ridge Reservation, Lakota Reservation in South Dakota. That is the home of my beloved Auntie Deborah White Plume and Uncle Alex White Plume, who are very prominent elders and leaders of the Lakota First Nation. Auntie Deborah White Plume is direct descendant of Chief Red Cloud. And I had the profound honor of traveling with them up to North Dakota to Standing Rock, and we camped out together at Red Warrior Camp. So we must have a meeting with Auntie Deborah and Uncle Alex White Plume and talk about the divine feminine. You know, I'm sure you know the Tioshpae system and the women elders, they call the shots, they run the show, and that's how it should be. And what a model. And thank God that they've preserved that, right? So many of the First Nations have just,
I found a cassette of Charles and Godfrey Chips singing the Lakota songs. and I was pronouncing the summer song pretty well, but I could still improve it. Yeah, I was so deeply moved by what you shared, Jamin, and would love to talk some more sometime, because these experiences are so close to my heart, and some of the sacred tools that are in my possession are, I would need to be off recording to share some of it.
Yeah, let's just take a break from recording right now. And